place to hide. No place to run, no place to run. The mutant age has now begun. X-Men, X-Men, this is the day, X-Men, coming your way. Magneto's hordes are on the way to pillage, burn, and plunder. But there's one team that will not yield, the team that strikes like thunder. X-Men, X-Men, this is the day, X-Men, coming your way.
Today I have a trio of unique mutant gentlemen here in the studio. They're going to tell this audience and all the people at home how their powers got them banned from all of the mutant groups.
Wish my power was more appealing. Ever since I was a kid, I noticed people getting outbreaks all over their bodies around me, and even now I can't quite control it. That's why Wolverine called me Acne, and I think it was his healing factor that made the zit infestation go away. The other X-Men weren't so lucky, though. You just should have seen how mad Colossus got when he still had pimples after he transformed.
I don't even know how people started calling me Barman. I just thought I had amazing alcohol tolerance. Turns out I can drink anything, even Everclear, and it doesn't do a thing to me. But the problem is, I thought putting on a show for all the kids at Xavier's school would be fun. Xavier didn't think so.
Well, I tried to romance Mystique one day with my power, and she just threw my flowers away. I guess getting called Bouquet is better than some other things she could have called me. But after I made my flowers grow out of the drains in Genosha, I got kicked out. Now I supply Costco with all its flowers for a minimum wage. I got gypped.
I have it on good authority that Dazzler won't return your phone calls. Sorry to hear that, guys. I think that says better than anything you're not popular with the other mutants.
Mom, are you okay? Mom!
Come with me if you want to live.
Theorizing that one could travel within their own lifetime, two old RPGamer staff members stepped into the RPG Backtrack Time Accelerator and vanished. They woke to find themselves trapped in the past, playing and talking about computer and console RPGs from the 80s right up to yesteryear, driven by an unknown force to change history for the better. Their only guides on this journey are other staff and players from RPGamer.com who they meet to help record podcasts that only their audience can listen and hear. And so, Phil and Mike find themselves leaping from game to game, striving to put right gaming backlogs gone wrong, and hoping each time that their next recording will be the one that leads them home.
Welcome to the RPG Backtrack. Here are your hosts, Phil Willis and Mike Minky.
And welcome to RPG Backtrack. This is your host, Phil Willis, and
Your other host, Mike.
And you're listening to number 104. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! And we will be talking about, if you haven't figured out from all these references so far, you probably should just stop now. But for the rest of you, we will be talking about a lot of X-Men games today. We got X-Men Legends 2, and even X-Men Academy. Or no, Destiny. God, I'm already trying to forget it. I played it from beginning to end yesterday, and my subconscious mind is already trying to shove it out the door. But we'll save that for a minute, and we'll even talk about some other old X-Men games. Yes, we're going to talk about
our title.
And we have
title
this
shows that not everything in the third X-Men movie was bad, despite what the popular acclaim would say.
No, I kind of. Well, we can talk about movies in a bit, but let's.
You might as well. They came out around the time of these games.
Yeah, let's talk. Isn't there somebody else in? Oh yeah, and we have a guest. We have a guest tonight to help us out, Mr. Michael Apps.
Hey. You should call me by my mutant, damn it.
You really want to be known as Acne?
Okay, and you know what? Michael Apps is fine. It's good. I'm good with that.
I was just going to call him App Man. All right. Well,
you gotta wonder if there are mutants with powers like that. There are hundreds of thousands of mutants. They have powers from all the gamut, the good and the really, really ugly. He's probably a mutant with a power that he can make himself look uglier than anybody else.
You know, I think I hear Magneto calling us for a meeting, so we're going to take a quick break, go off to the Danger Room or the X-Jet or something, and...
no, it's the Blackbird. Why is it the X-Jet?
Blackbird, X-Jet.
Everything
has to start with X, yes. They drive the X car. Wasn't it the X motorcycle in the movie? X-Cycle or something?
Well, it's not the X-Mansion, it's Professor Xavier's home in Westchester, but I guess it's the X-Mansion now.
Are you changing the name of this podcast to the X-Cast?
Ooh, there's a thought. Oh, wait, the X-Cast. That means we're not broadcasting anymore. Oh, that's not fun. No.
You know what? While that would be tempting, I'm sorry. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! That just works.
That just works much better. All right, so we're going to take a little break, step into the time machine, and we'll be right back. Hold on tight. Welcome back. We're ready to talk about some X-Men games, and we're going to kick this one off today. Oh, we'll talk about the RPGs proper first before I go into my childhood memories. We're going to talk about X-Men Legends. This was developed by Raven Software. This was published by Activision. It's released on the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and the Xbox in North America on September 21st, 2004. Of course, the one version that everybody played was the N-Gage version that came out February 7, 2005. That's what everybody everyone's on everybody wants to hear about the N-Gage version.
That's right, Phil. That was the beginning. Remember how Nokia was just this no-account company until the N-Gage came out? Now everybody uses Nokia phones, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're just all walking around with them. And
wait, Nokia still exists?
Yes.
And looking at...
If successfully, that's open to interpretation.
And so, N-Gage, that's what we're talking about today. That was released on February 7th, 2005. A glorious date that we all marked on our calendars and celebrate annually now. This is a single and multiplayer action RPG. So, X-Men Legends. Oh my gosh, super, super cool. So... Boy, where do we
go into the plot since I probably played it more recently?
Where do we start? The plot. Oh, well, yeah, they all do sort of have a plot, don't they? Not that any of us were paying attention. But yes, Mike, go ahead and talk about the plot. Yes, go ahead.
All right, so we begin with some faux CNN broadcasts depicting that, yes, the mutant problem is still there, and there's a mutant named Allison Crestmere who is being taken away because her parents have just come out and said, we don't like this, Allison. You need to go learn to control your mutantism. And right in the middle of New York, well, Mystique and the Blob snatch her away, and it's up to Wolverine to kick the crap out of everybody in the way and get her back. And Cyclops eventually helps out, but it's all Wolverine show.
Adamantine beam! Plus 15 damage. Sorry, you mentioned Wolverine and Cyclops. You can combo for an adamantine beam. Combo breaker. I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there.
So they get her out of there after beating the crap out of Mystique and the Blob, who don't seem to really mind. They just run off and spout off. And Allison winds up at Professor Xavier's Westchester School for the Gifted, and she gets the crash course in what most of the people playing this game probably already know, but apparently she didn't pay any attention to all of the events in the world of Marvel before this, so she does need the explanation. Who are the X-Men? What are their powers? What are we doing here? And what do you know? The Brotherhood of Mutants is up to something. And it turns out that somehow the U.S. government got Magneto onto, I think it was an aircraft carrier, and has been holding him prisoner there. But that doesn't last long, and Magneto gets out, and he's up on Asteroid M, and he's got a plan, because he's got a gadget that will allow him to take control of the metal in asteroids and have them block most of the sun from reaching the Earth, which is pretty dangerous, actually. That's a pretty grandiose plan.
Magneto never really thinks things all the way through to their natural end game. That's the problem with Mags. He just he's got great intentions. He just wants mutants to live in peace, but he never quite thinks things through to the next logical step.
Which is that if you deprive the Earth of most of its sunlight, then it will run out of food fairly quickly.
And which means that the mutants would die along with the humans, which he swears to save all. I'm doing this for the mutants.
I don't know. There's got to be some mutant that can infinitely supply food or something.
Wouldn't it be cool? A mutant,
or one that just makes solar energy or something.
A mutant who grows nourishing fungi out of his armpits. He just hands the mushrooms, and that's what keeps all the other mutants alive. But he can never.
And they taste great.
He can never take a bath. He can never take a bath. That's the key. And nobody really wants to be in the same room with them. It's kind of like one of those tragic pairs, like Rogue. It's sad, but they need it. Just thinking out loud here. Just don't take my ideas, Marvel. I said it first. It's recorded online. You can't steal it now. I'm sorry. I digressed.
While Magneto is being rescued by the rest of the Brotherhood and unleashing his plot, Allison is getting used to things. She's just standing around, listening, going into the danger room, showing off that, yes, she has a pretty impressive power, actually. Her power is to make magma well up underneath her and control it.
Which, is only slightly more interesting than my mushroom idea, just saying.
Yeah, but it's fairly useful to fight. Not throwing mushrooms at people is not as useful in a fight, unless you've just found somebody like my mother used to be who absolutely hates mushrooms. And eventually she joins the X-Men and goes off to fight with the Brotherhood and the notorious government anti-mutant forces who have been bringing back Sentinels. Bastards. Sentinels are back. And even though Wolverine calls her Pebbles, her official nickname is Magma. And we eventually get up to Asteroid M, and I don't remember exactly how that was accomplished because it involves going through the gigantic layer of asteroids encircling the Earth, but we get up there, we beat the crap out of Magneto, we fight the leader of the Sentinel program who has gotten into something called Master Mold, which threw me for a minute because Master Mold I always thought was something a little different in the Sentinel universe, but never mind. And then Allison, using her power, stops Asteroid M from crashing directly onto New York City and creating millions of martyrs who would fire up the human race. And I think that I just summed up the entire plot there. There's a lot of little moments along the way, but that's the main gist.
Okay. How about, have you played this one, Apps, or?
It's been years, but yes.
Yeah.
I would say the plot was very comic booky, as it should be.
As it should be. Well, lately they've been, I don't know, every time I pick one up, it's so, they're trying to make it so down to earth that it kind of loses me. I like the more comic booky, type of stuff, shtick. Kind of got out of Marvel once they started doing weird crap like divorces and stuff.
Well, you can tell that Joss Whedon did not script this game because Kitty Pryde does not show up at all. She is mentioned briefly in a couple of the trivia questions, but that's it.
Yeah, she that's kind of funny. That's kind of the way it worked in that other game I played. What was it called? Whatever. That's
let's save that.
That's pretty funny. But remind me to bring up the Kitty reference. I just it's funny you should mention that.
Making me remember when they took on the Brood with that question about where she got Lockheed.
Yeah, well, the Brood storyline was one of the Brood storylines anyways was one of the ones where I jumped on. My father had given me a stack of like 50 comics, and it's the reason why I got into drawing for as long as I did, and today I write a lot of fiction stories that, are inspired by that form of storytelling. But yeah, the Brood the comic that I got was where they were already up to their eyeballs in Brood, and some of them had been implanted with brew eggs or whatever inside of them. So they eventually would turn into Brood, but they would have the X-Men's power. So you'd have Brood creatures firing off Cyclops beams and stuff like that. Wolverine was the only one who kind of survived that injection, not only because of his healing factor, but more importantly because of the adamantine skeleton, which refused the mutation. It would, his body wouldn't change because his skeleton was kind of the anchor. And it left me hanging at that he survived, but how was he going to get the other X-Men through this or whatever? I unfortunately was just left hanging because my father had just bought me that one box, and at the time I couldn't afford to go out every week and get new ones. So, the Brood were pretty cool comic book goodness. Put your heroes with lots of powers against something even more powerful than them and see what happens. Even though half of it doesn't really make scientific or even logical sense. So, that's the X-Men for you. That was part of the awesomeness. So, definitely it brings back the storylines. There are just, in this game was just pure, straightforward, inspired by the early 90s.
The significant intrusion into Shadow King's realm, which is there.
Huh.
And it allows you to fight as Professor X for a little while because it's taking place in the
that's right.
subconscious.
Oh, right. Now I remember
and that means you
yeah.
get to hear Patrick Stewart do put-downs at the enemies.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. That is...
You fought bravely.
So the game kind of set up action RPG. It kind of you control one person, but you have a 4-party team. You can swap them out. From within those 4 people, you can easily swap between the 4 of them on the fly, and you will, because doing one all the time just gets kind of boring. Not to mention there are a couple of cute environmental deals in there where you might need, if I remember correctly, where you might need Iceman to throw an ice bridge or something like that.
Yes, you will need Iceman several times.
And
if you don't have him, you better go get him.
You better go get him because you're SOL. Yeah, there was a couple of situations where if you just didn't have one of several particular X-Men in your group, you had to go back.
Once Allison joins you as Magma, she can also make bridges. That's nice of her.
Yeah, there was a couple of solutions there depending on who you're playing at the time. But it was possible if you accidentally just took Colossus, and I don't remember if Beast was playable, but if you just
he was in this one.
Yeah, if you just took a bunch of ground guys and didn't bring a bridge builder or a flyer, you could get kind of screwed.
In this one, I noticed that your AI people and the guy you're controlling have this amazing propensity to fall into bottomless pits.
And that's...
if you don't build that bridge, you might just find that the other 3 try to follow you and they all fall off and die, and then you have to go back to a checkpoint and revive them.
And is that the only way they do die? Like, I don't think they die from enemy damage if the AI is controlling them.
They do.
They do?
But it's not instantaneous. They won't, unless you somehow manage to find some enemies who are so incredibly strong that they can take out Wolverine in one shot.
Yeah, it's really... Some of these games...
The thing is, I didn't usually die to the enemies as much as I would die from bottomless pits.
Bottomless pits, yeah. They're the X-Men's worst enemy. Screw Magneto. Oh my god, it's a pit! Yeah.
Yeah, that's really funny when, say, Rogue or Storm falls into a bottomless pit. Apparently they forgot how to fly.
Yeah. Well,
it's also fun to throw your friends into bottomless pits.
Yeah. That's kind of a limitation of the engine. You don't really fly very high. You more like float off the ground a bit when you have a flyer character. And don't you have to usually put points into it for it to even be doable?
Yes. You need to have Storm learn to fly by putting
points into it. And don't just put 1 point because she'll use up her energy way too fast. You're going to have to invest. Yeah. Otherwise, she just kind of hovers up there for only a few seconds and you're out of mutant energy. So, so it's an action RPG. Kind of think maybe something like Diablo, but a lot faster. You're going through, you'll see the enemies on there. You'll go up there, you run up there, you'll do some attacks. You can do the shoulder buttons or something like that, and one of the other buttons to activate some of your various mutant powers that you will learn and level up and power up as you go through. You'll learn new ones, and you'll have the ability to put points into them and level them up. And you'll never have enough points to do everything. So.
Oh, you might. Yeah. Well, I got to, I think, about level 38 by the end, and that was with extended Danger Room sessions. But that means if you want to reach, say, a really high level, then good luck. You're going to be at it a long time.
Yeah, this is one of those games, too, where you could play through. I think you could take the same party and play through again. Like at
probably can.
And the enemies would be a higher level.
I know you can in the second.
Do that. I know some of them actually might be the entire series that some of the harder difficulties aren't even open right away.
Right, yeah. So that would be, the idea. Not that I ever felt compelled to play through any of these more than once, but that option is there. So...
Well, let's do a quick character rundown.
Oh, God, we'll be here all night. There's like a cajillion.
We already mentioned Wolverine. Anybody who doesn't know who Wolverine is, you officially get to turn in your geek card and never, ever try to apply for it again.
Oh my god, who's Wolverine? I'm kidding.
He's just an animal that wanders around. I think it's in Wisconsin. I don't know. There's Rogue.
More importantly, anyone that doesn't use Wolverine at some point in this game should turn in their geek card.
Well, I don't have to do that because I definitely used Wolverine. Yeah. Although, of course, you have to enable his healing ability. That's kind of funny.
Well, you don't expect it to work right off the bat, do you? And I think it starts off and when you put a point into it or something, it's like really slow. It's like, holy...
Yeah, you get to stand there for a while and wait for him to heal.
Yeah. So you probably want to pump some points into that early.
So I don't think we need to address Wolverine. Everybody knows who he is.
I don't want to be here all night, Mike.
Okay, Rogue. Rogue is in there. Jean Grey is in there. Cyclops is in there. Again, we're not going to address this because you know who these people are better. Nightcrawler, he's in there.
I have to say, one of the cool things about Nightcrawler, too, is he does teleport around pretty cool, and when he uses big power.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it's so fun when you
so
use his extreme attack or whatever the hell it's called, and he just starts teleporting all over the screen, just kicking everything's ass. It's not the most effective in terms of damage, but it's just so much fun to do and watch. Yeah.
It is.
Why wouldn't you?
Although, he is really good in the second one, but we'll get there. Let's see. Colossus, he's in here. Iceman, he's in here. Let's see.
Storm?
Damn, I already have to check and see who else was in here. Well, there's Allison, and Magma is actually a good character. I liked her. She's really
she was
strong.
quite useful.
Not just for the bridge building, but for the fact that her attacks really hurt.
Yeah, it's a shame being a new character. I'm sure a lot of people, did their best not to use her at all, or as little as possible. But yeah, she was definitely useful.
And in the story segment, she came across as a fairly pleasant character. Not deep, but
yeah, I mean, you'd think that using a new character in a game that's kind of like an all-star collection of X-Men wouldn't be the best idea.
I think it was, obviously, it was to really introduce people who, I don't know where they would, who these people are, who actually had never actually heard of the X-Men, understood things like the Mansion, and had never read one of the cajillion of new student stories. So this was supposed to, provide a gateway, and, the whole Kitty Pryde story has been done to death, so I guess they just went with a totally new mutant there. And I think she really is a magma. I want to say she was in, oh my gosh, New Mutants, I want to say, for some reason. I'm gonna look it up now. And that was a comic series, an X-Men spinoff way back in the 80s, and it ended, I think, after 100 issues. But I'll look that up. Any more on the list there, Mike, while I look that up?
Oh yeah, well, we've got Gambit. You don't get him until fairly
Gambit.
late in the game, but Gambit's cool.
Yeah, Gambit is always fun to play, especially because he's got great dialogue as well.
That's true. The Raging Cajun.
Yeah, she definitely is a character in the comic book, so maybe she isn't that new. I'm trying to find out for a fact that she, and I want to say 99%. I just about bet $20 that she was well before the game. Yeah, because in Age of Apocalypse, well, that could have been Apocalypse in Days of Past. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find what comics. Oh, yes, here we go. New Mutants. New Mutants number 8.
Wait, Days of Future Past, the movie that's coming out next year?
No, it was a comic series long before it was a movie, son.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I just had to be sure, because that is a movie coming out next year.
Yeah, part of
Quicksilver in it. Okay.
Quicksilver. Is that all you care about? Is Quicksilver? Anyways, yes, she was part of the New Mutants, which came out originally in the early 80s, December 1982. So she showed up in 83, I believe. She wasn't in the first one. Maybe she was. But yeah, so she is kind of out there. She's just a very lesser known character because.
Oh, well, that's cool then.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, long time ago. I remember she looked a lot different, but she was in there.
There's so many X-Men comics, it's hard to read all
There's
of
so
them.
many freaking mutants and superheroes. I mean, this is there's I made up my own superhero. You can't come up with original powers these days. Marvel and DC literally have thousands and thousands in their libraries, and they've thought of it all and made it a trademark at some point. But I figured my combination of powers and equipment and race and everything else was kind of original. Well, after I've been drawing it for like 10 years, a friend says, "Oh, that looks like Dr. Light 2." I'm like, "Dr. what? Who?" Dr. Light 2 from DC Comics. Well, I was a Marvel boy growing up. Never heard of no Dr. Light 2. Dr. Light 1 is this old creepy guy, whatever. Nobody likes him. Apparently, Dr. Light 2 was an Asian female whose powers were very similar to my character, Wildlight. And
did it have to be named after the Mega Man guy?
Yeah, after the Mega Man. How weird is that?
Dr. Light.
That's just how many these freaky people there are with these powers, and you just can't come up with anything original. There's a whole article about from one of the from a comic creator about how greedy Marvel and DC are by basically coming up with every idea that they can possibly come up with and trademarking, copywriting every single one. So you really, if they wanted to be mean about it, you'd have a hard time making up something that didn't infringe on a copyright somewhere. Anyways, go on. I digress.
Yeah, let's finish this. Did I mention that Storm is in this? Because if I didn't, I'd better. And everybody knows who she is. Psylocke is in this. You get her fairly late as she's just wandering around in New York, and you save her from Sentinels, and then she joins you. Beast you can play as. And what do you expect? Beast is really good at hitting things, and his special attack is to have a satellite blast from orbit what's in front of you. Emma Frost, the White Queen.
And her super special attack is she just rubs her hands down her bra, and all of the other creatures just stare and watch while the other X-Men beat them up.
Some of the creatures aren't human, so that means...
You know, that's how powerful she is. Yeah, I mean, her beauty transcends gender, transcends race, it even transcends whether or not you're organic. The robots even stop and watch.
If you know anything about Emma Frost, you know that woman has a reason to be proud of her mid and to be showing it off all the time. But yeah, I seem to recall most of her powers involving, well, you can make the enemies just stand there while you hit them.
See, told you.
Do anything about it. Am I forgetting anybody?
I didn't really play her a whole lot because I'm mostly an old school fan, and in the old school book she was always pain.
She was always with the Hellfire Club.
She and then now she's all goody two shoes sort of.
I think she's married with
Cyclops because Jean. Oh, it's this convoluted storyline about him, Jean Grey getting jealous because Emma had a brain moment with Cyclops, and that's if every woman got pissed and divorced their husband every time they had a lustful thought about some whatever. I'm telling you, no one be married.
Hey, Scott's got the horrible problem of both the women in his life. They're psychic. That's not good.
Yeah.
This is not a good problem to have.
Yeah, I think I've covered everybody, unless I'm forgetting somebody massive. But you know what? That's a pretty good cast.
Yeah, I'd say it gets pretty much all the classic X-Men.
Oh, Jubilee! I forgot Jubilee.
Oh yeah,
that's because we never used her.
I did use her a few times.
Sucky.
I used Jubilee.
Sucky.
She looks totally different than she did in the 90s cartoon. She's no longer wearing the banana yellow raincoat.
The banana yellow raincoat, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Taking advice from April O'Neil with her fashion. But she was pretty good, considering her power is more or less to make a light show.
Yeah,
I'd say it's a pretty well-rounded cast and covers most of the fan favorites. Unless you're like a big Kitty Pryde fan, I guess.
I was a big Dazzler fan, but she wasn't in there.
Well, yeah, I don't know what Joss
Jubilee's kind of close.
No, Jubilee sucks. Dazzler's got class. She's got roller skates. Just saying.
How about Angel?
Angel was hilarious. I mean, in the early comics, it's like, what are you on the team? Oh, you can fly. Your power is to fly. It's like, next thing you know, and I think they had it in it's like, that's a really sucky power. And you kind of think that it probably couldn't get I mean, of course, everybody would love to fly, but when that's your only power, it just is just kind of, bleh. I mean, you had Iceman turning all kinds of things to cool to ice, and Cyclops punching holes through things. And
yeah, Storm can do more than just fly.
Yeah.
Rogue can do more than just fly.
Yeah, so later on, I want to say it was the New Mutants, going back to them again. One of them had the power to read any language. And you were just counting
so useful.
You were counting
That actually is. In the Star Trek universe, you no longer need the universal translator. You got this mutant.
And so you were counting the number of issues until she died, and she did, or he did. I think it's a she. But I mean, it was like, really, guys? But yeah, that was... yeah. So anyways, so that's your list of mutants here. And so you go through, you got attack buttons, you got light attack, hard attack, you got special powers you can use, and then you got combos. Who wants to talk about combos? Because you can use the shoulder buttons to activate your team members' attacks. So if you time their attacks while you're doing your own special attacks, it'll do extra damage, earn you extra XP, something.
And the announcer
does the cool thing.
Combo!
Which is the real reason to do it. Because nobody cares about... It's like, you've done 15 extra damage. Oh, okay, what? I'm hitting this guy so fast. That's the difference between him dying in 2 seconds or 1.8 seconds. I mean, do I really... No, but... The announcer, man, is like what was that? Killer Combat or something? Killer Instinct. Combo Breaker. That's like, I think they got the same guy. He's been out of a job for a while, so we're gonna get him. And so yeah, that was pretty cool. And you get to pick up and equip items, don't you, Mike? And money and stuff.
You do. Yep.
That's what really makes it an RPG, guys. That's the only reason we're really talking about it.
That and the fact that you have to build up your powers.
I
mean, if you don't go in there and organize your powers, then you will never learn any. You will never learn to have Wolverine use his adamantium slash, and you will never learn to have Cyclops use his beam. And you will never learn to have Rogue absorb energy from the enemies she's fighting. They have to learn it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Metroid. At the beginning, you just lose all your powers. You just, but the worst part was they didn't even come up, like, Metroid usually comes up with an excuse of why Samus has lost all of her suit's powers or whatever at the beginning. You have to get them all back again. They didn't even do that here. You're just wondering why Wolverine doesn't heal.
You know what? I'm willing to grant it that, because otherwise you'd be able to blow through everything until the end of the game. And
they could have made it to where...
If I think about it too hard, my mind will break. So let's not.
I mean, they could have made it to where they worked weekly or something. I don't know.
They could have saved Wolverine till the later part of the game.
Yeah, could have saved him
Instead, he's the first guy you control.
With no healing. You're just running around wondering why he doesn't heal. It's great.
Wondering why you can only hold 10 healing items at a time at the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah, you gotta love artificial arbitrary limitations. They're great.
But once somebody hits level 10, you can hold 15.
Well, it's better, I guess, in later games. They decide as they continue to. I get we're not talking about the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, but this show not tonight. But in later games where they just try to strip away more and more of those RPG mechanics, you don't even get to hold healing potions. You just hope somebody drops some red bubbles for you to suck up.
Well, I mean, to be fair, some action RPGs have moved to that too, so it's not like it was moving more towards just a straight-up action game. Some more RPG.
You know what nobody seems to be
too.
doing anymore? Nobody is having you knock over trash cans and eat the food you find under there to recover your health.
Well, no, but you could destroy a lot of crap in this game and you'd find healing potions.
Yes, you could.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
My golly gosh, and how are you able to smash so many things in the aircraft carrier without sinking the stupid thing? You can even smash the very walls themselves, and behind them you see, more walls. Only they're bland and they look like unaltered polygons with no textures, because I think that's what they are. And if you try to smash everything in the game, you're going to be there a while.
Oh yeah. At some point, you just need to stop.
Yeah, you just have to realize, okay, most of the things will not have anything for me to take, so I don't need to break them. Though when you do need to smash a wall to get from place to place, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And, well, let's see. Oh, yes. I forgot about the sojourn into the sewers so that you can play with the Morlocks repeatedly and beat the crap out of Marrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of different settings in the game. They keep...
And the Morlock healer, voiced by Ed Asner. Because when I think of X-Men characters, I think of Mary Tyler Moore's boss. Still, I don't know. Maybe he just needed the work at the time. Up was still a few years away.
Oh, wait a minute. Listen to this. Originally, Magma's the one that was created in the comic books. Her real name is actually Amara Juliana Olivians Aquila, also known as Alison Cressmere. It's a fiction character. So, where is she originally from? Rome? From the fictional country of Nova Roma, New Rome, a colony of the Roman Republic reportedly founded shortly after the death of Julius Caesar in 44 BC. Well, there you go.
Wow, I think some stuff was changed for this game.
She disguised herself as a Brazilian Indian and first encounters the New Mutants, discovering her powers when Selene throws her into a lava pool as a human sacrifice during a violent conflict. Amara reemerges with superhuman powers, demanding vengeance, and she battles Selene. So yeah, there you go. Why didn't we get that beginning? We should. That would be so much. That would be so much more awesome. Think about this. You put in X-Men Legends. You stick it in there. The opening scene is you're playing some chick who's in some country you never heard of before, New Rome or whatever. She's tied up, and there's a bunch of guys swinging her into this big old volcano, and this lady saying, "Yes, we're sacrificing you to our Rome god." But then you rise up and you take vengeance upon the person who threw you in. No, might as well go ahead and take vengeance on all the villagers, and that's how you learn to play the game, by destroying the entire village. That would have been a lot more fun than, let's go to Xavier's
That might
Institute.
have required more than a T rating.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious. Oh, and she fought Emma Frost a lot. Huh. Anyways, I gotta stop.
Well, that's not unusual. Emma picks fights very easily. Depending on which incarnation you're reading, of course. Now that she's the leader of the X-Men, she's supposed to be above that.
So I mean, overall, this was a very beefy game and a very fun game. I guess I should say it felt very fun because I had my expectations set so low. Maybe, you see a licensed game, you immediately figure it's going to be crap. Without the license, it's okay. I mean, if it was just by itself, I don't think the RPG mechanics are as deep as some of the other action RPG deals that are out there, and I don't think it would have held my interest to the end. But, combining the license with an average / somewhat mediocre, somewhat fun game. I guess I think by itself it might be a 3.0 or something, but you add the license in there, bumps it up to like a 3.5 or so.
Yeah, but I mean, it uses the license
because it uses it well. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it whereas some of the other licensed games you play are just bad. Not
that we know of anyone's like those, and we're not talking about any of those tonight because all the games we're talking about is awesome games.
But no, it knows how to use the license. It knows, the developers knew kind of a good cast to get in there. They go to a
they
variety
got Patrick
of
Stewart
locations.
to voice Xavier.
Yeah, and they go to a variety of different locations and they fit in a bunch of different villains, which is cool. So,
you fight Pyro, then you fight there's Marrow. And I never read the comics where Marrow appeared. All I remember is that she was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and kept losing for me.
Run that by me again. Pyro?
Marrow.
Oh, Marrow.
Marrow,
bone chick lady. Oh,
the
yeah.
Warlock leader.
Oh, yeah. I used to. Yeah, I was pretty good with versus Capcom.
Yeah.
She's not too bad. Not half shabby. Have fun with her.
Well, compared to Roll or Dan, I guess. And I actually had to work a little bit with the final boss, but because the enemies were so generous with giving me extra health power-ups when I was fighting Master Mold, that didn't too challenging. And having the danger room accessible at every save point means that you have no excuse if the enemies are whomping on you. You can just go in there, clean some danger room clock for as long as you want. It's the danger room. I don't really understand how the money and items you find in the danger room are able to come with you out of it, but maybe I shouldn't think about that.
They're tech bits.
Yes, tech bits, but they are used as currency.
Well, okay. All right, so here's a little tidbit. I mean, originally the Danger Room was just a bunch of machines. I mean, in the original X-Men comic books, it was things like a flamethrower would just pop out of the wall and try to shoot one of them while they bounced around it, or hurdles would pop up out of the floor. It wasn't the what's it called, the hologram room that it is today. What happened was in dealing with the those what were those monsters we were just talking about, the aliens?
Brood?
Yes. Well, they got involved with all that because of Cyclops' father is part of a space armada with the Shi'ar. So an alien race that for the most part are pretty good people, ever have you. Anyways, the Shi'ar and the X-Men form a relationship, and the Shi'ar lend a lot of their technology to the X-Men, and that's how they came up with the Danger Room today. So here's the deal. You've got this Danger Room. It's built with technology far beyond, anybody's understanding, including even the X-Men. They just know it works, right? It's like the Apple iPad. It just works. So they go in there, they program stuff, and they beat the living crap out of that room, right? With the holograms and stuff. Some of that damage is going to hit the walls, it's going to hit the computers, it's going to hit the mechanics that are going on behind the holograms. Just think of it as like computer dandruff. As you're chipping away the walls and stuff, those tech bits are just falling down like dandruff off of somebody's head. And that's what you're collecting and taking out of the room, and you're bringing it back to Beast or Forge or whatever, and you're like, hey, look at what I got. Lots of tech bits. Will you make me, sell me, whatever, something technical for my character? See? It's logical. You just got to put it together.
Okay. I'll buy it. Sure, why not? And lest we forget, once in a flashback, once in the present time, you fight the Juggernaut. And the flashback is when he's just smashing through everything in his path, trying to get to Xavier in the mansion. And the present time is when you're on Muir Island and he's trying to get to Forge. And I actually lost that the first time because, well, watch out for the Juggernaut.
He's the Juggernaut. Yeah, don't get in his way.
So you better make a point. Smack up the Juggernaut and fast, or else he will crush Forge to bits. That's bad. You lose.
And it uses, if I remember correctly, it uses cel-shaded graphics for the characters. So
I
think so. So that was, I remember it being somewhat stylistic, even though we are talking about PlayStation 1, which tends to be, lower Wait, 2.
You mean
PlayStation 2.
PS2. Xbox and GameCube.
Yeah.
Just think of what
I'm
this
sorry,
would look
and
like on
I was
PS1.
looking at Engage screenshots, so you know. It just, yeah.
Well, okay. Are there any differences between the versions?
Yeah, you get different. There's some slightly different optional characters in each one, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I'm thinking of the second one.
Well, I know there are in the second one.
But other than that, there wasn't anything, substantial.
Actually, I can probably come up with one. If you played on GameCube, you probably don't have to suffer through the load times on PS2.
Oh, definitely not.
And they are some fairly hefty load times, so that you can admire all of the character art that is provided for you to look at during the load screens.
I played it on Xbox, and the load times weren't too bad there either.
Yeah, I don't remember. I haven't played enough stuff on Xbox that I remember the load times very well. I played Orta and Halo the most on that thing. Anyway, yeah, you get to marvel at the character art, which seems to display that every woman in the cast really, really likes to show off her midriff. Except Psylocke. Psylocke does not have a bare midriff. Interesting.
Yeah, Psylocke's got issues. I mean, in the comics, she's English, but then somehow, I forget the storyline, she becomes Asian, and then the Asian and English part of her physically start having fight clone or something, or it's really effed up.
Yeah, her mind got transferred into an Asian body, and somehow the skills of that mind stayed with the body. I don't pretend to understand how that works.
Yeah, it's a little convoluted.
So that instead of just having telekinetic powers, she also knows how to fight like a trained ninja. As we all know, English women constantly learn how to fight like trained ninjas.
Yeah. Well, and I remember, yeah. So, and then I have the comic where, because she would rely a little, when she became Asian with those fighting skills, she would become a little bit too, what's the word I'm looking for? She enjoyed the thrill of the physical combat just a little too much, being more of a psychic character. So she would oftentimes put herself into danger unnecessarily because she liked the thrill. And in one deal, she gets into a fight with Sabretooth, and guess who wins? Yeah, your ninja skills don't save you. Let's just put it that way. No. Yeah.
No, even Wolverine has to take Sabretooth seriously because they've pretty much got the same power base.
So, anywho, we should move on. So,
and the voice of Magneto is Tony Jay, who you would recognize as the voice of the Transcendent One in Planescape Torment. And who was also the voice of Shere Khan on Tailspin. And who is now dead, unfortunately.
Tailspin!
Aww.
Sorry, you did the song. I had to say it.
Oh, oh.
Tailspin.
Oh,
Tailspin.
I'm not going to accompany you because I'd get it just messed up. We've seen that before. Yeah, I think we've covered most of it.
Yeah, it's a very entertaining licensed game.
Yeah. So go out and play it.
A licensed game that uses the license well. If it wasn't for the license, people wouldn't have paid much attention to it.
And it is a very solid game, and that's an important fact to bring up. The game is solid. It's not buggy. What else? The graphics are decent for, its time in the system that it's on. And it's very beefy. You could even say it's longer than 6 hours, for example. Just pointing out some facts.
If you try to complete all of the Danger Room missions, say, and there are a lot of them, and if you want to try and do everything, then you might just be looking at a good 30 hours or so, which is, for a brawler type game, very beefy.
Yeah. So definitely, did a good job on this one. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting the worst, and got something that was pretty darn good. So,
do our thoughts jive with yours, Mr. Apps?
Oh, absolutely. I had a lot of fun with this game, especially multiplayer. I mean,
that's right. I did not get to play it multiplayer. How is that?
It's fun, except for the occasional time we can throw friends into a bottomless pit, but,
Yeah, and sometimes when you're both on opposite sides of the screen or something, you can get the other person caught, like on a solid object or something, and it can be a little frustrating at times if you're not careful, but for the most part, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. I mean, now that after playing this and having actually had a good licensed game, you could say, well, they could probably make an even better action RPG with the X-Men license, but it's a lot of fun. you can't really, I guess, focus too much on wanting something even better when we've had so much bad. And it's good to get just something that's really fun. So yeah, and I don't think there's all that many licensed like RPGs out there. So
There are other X-Men games, but
Yeah.
aside from the ones on the Genesis, and they're pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I never tried the ones on NES for a good reason.
yeah,
For me, I did try the one on Super Nintendo, whatever that one where you play with Psylocke and Gambit and Wolverine and a couple others.
Oh god, that game.
And
but
that's
yeah.
all it deserves. X-Men Legends is much better than the Super Nintendo game whose name I'm not remembering, but it was designed by Capcom, and that's just sad.
Yeah, I mean, as RPG fans, I think there's a lot of properties we'd love to see as RPGs, and this is one of the cases where we actually got that, and it actually turned out quite well. So, yeah, I would say any RPG-loving X-Men fan who hasn't played this game really should dig in. And it's really cheap nowadays, too.
Yep. So, definitely go out and play it and have fun with it and blow things up. And I wonder what combo. Yeah, combo. Everyone's got their GameCube lying around. Gosh, it's like $5 to get a used GameCube version. Yeah, you can play that in most Wii's. Just thinking out loud here, Let's see.
I have this funny feeling that there won't be much load time issue. I think the GameCube was one of the best systems for load times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like Nintendo is, or at least somebody at Nintendo is obsessed with having no load times, because that seems to be the reason they stuck with cartridges for so long.
So let's...
Well, I thought there was also a factor that Nintendo was still kind of burned from working with Sony on that thing that Nintendo pulled out of and Sony brought to the market. You might remember it.
Yeah.
I think it started with E and ended with Station, and there were some letters in between. And Nintendo mostly did it because it couldn't control the whole thing, and then just decided, well, obviously cartridges are still the way.
So let's move on.
Yeah,
let's
because
the only thing better than a Legend is a Legend 2, right?
I don't know, Phil.
The only thing...
I think you're talking about the Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, come on, how awesome is that? Apocalypse. Come on, everyone's dying for Apocalypse. X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse. This was developed by Raven Software and a whole bunch of other people, depending on which version you're getting. Published by Activision. This was released on the PlayStation 2 in North America on September 20th, 2005. On the GameCube, PC, and the Xbox in North America on September 20th, 2005. Well, that's the same. PlayStation Portable. PSP. You guys got your version on October 19th, 2005. And, of course, the most important one of all, the N-Gage version. October 31st. Trick or treat, you decide. Yeah, I think it was a trick. Anyway, so...
Hey, if you own an N-Gage, that's actually a treat. What else was there on this thing?
Not a whole lot, but yeah. So in X-Men Legends 2, we take this a step further. Why play just the X-Men when you can also play the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants? I mean, come on. What they do is right there in their name. I mean, if you just heard the name X-Men, you wouldn't know exactly what that means. X could stand for anything, but when you're Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Yeah, and that means you can have in your party, of course.
Toad, what everybody's looking for. Finally, you get to sling your tongue around the whole freaking
Scarlet
screen.
Witch! You finally get to play as Magneto's daughter.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking Toad, really.
And you can play Magneto.
Yeah, so far, you guys aren't convincing me that this is any better than... I mean, Toad is awesome.
Juggernaut!
Ooh, that's close.
The Juggernaut wins again!
But does Juggernaut have a tongue that goes all the way... Doesn't he whip the tongue around the screen? Remember that? Whips it around the effing screen. Come on, it doesn't get any cooler. I don't understand what it is with these people when they say, "Hey, let's sit down, guys, and come up now. We're gonna pull all the X-Men. We have like 30 years of X-Men comics and X-Men villains. Let's pull together the best 20 or so and give the fans what they really want." And somehow Toad ends up on. How does that happen? How?
He was actually pretty decent as a fighter.
I know, because his tongue went around the screen. But I mean, when I saw the list of characters, first of all, I was a little disappointed when I first.
Why not Pyro? If you're going with Brotherhood, why not Sabretooth?
Thank you.
Oh, because he's Wolverine's clone, more or less.
I would have done with Pyro. Would have been awesome, and yeah, Pyro would have been.
How
cool.
about Mystique?
Yeah, I guess she's okay.
I don't know exactly how that would work.
Only if you got the movie version of her, though, with like the one that doesn't wear anything. That would have been cool. We got Toad.
Actually, I do know why not Sabretooth, because he has to be abducted by Apocalypse at the end.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't have Emma Frost, and you can't have Quicksilver, and you can't have the fourth one he takes, who you actually never see in the game. You just hear about it.
All right, Mike. Take us through the plot, and then I'll take us through the characters.
Okay. Well, there was a blatant foreshadowing at the end of the first game, with Apocalypse watching somewhere as the X-Men saved the day and vowing that they would not enjoy it for long. And what do you know? The beginning of this game finds that, Apocalypse has just conquered Genosha, booting Magneto and the other Brotherhood members out. And now Apocalypse is searching for 4 mutants with certain very, very specific genes. And in order to... he has some plot that these 4 mutants are key to. But you won't learn what it is until the end. First you have to go through Genosha, then you go through the Savage Land, where Beast is kidnapped, and eventually returned to you. Just me. Something is different about Beast that you learn.
Dun dun dun. He coughed up a fur ball. Damn, I spoiled it for everybody. I'm sorry. I get excited.
Poor Hank. I didn't think he deserved that. And you go from the Savage Land to several places in Canada, which is where all of Apocalypse's factories are. Yes, his nuclear plant is apparently in Quebec. Whatever. And the factory that is making his infinite armies of workers and soldiers is in, I think it was Manitoba, but I could be wrong there. And then you get through that, and Emma Frost is taken! And then you have to save New York, which Apocalypse has conquered. Oh, and by the way, he has taken some time out to blow up Professor Xavier's mansion. And you save New York. And he took Angel, by the way, and turned it into Archangel. So beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say anything earlier. So finally, this happened in the comic too, more or less, and because they somewhere along the way they figured out this Angel character really sucks, and we need to give him some decent powers that mean something. So yeah, we took away.
Well, now apparently he can just shoot feathers that are made of metal at you.
Yeah, they replaced Apocalypse replaced his normal wings with metallic wings, and they shoot out blades type of thing. Though I always wondered to myself, does somebody reload those every day? I mean, where did they come from? I mean, they don't grow like feathers, I'd imagine. He's got some sort of techno virus thing going on. But I digress. Keep going.
Yeah, I should mention that before you fight Archangel, who would be the 4th horseman, you have also fought Abyss, Mikhail Rasputin, and I don't remember what his code name is. Sorry. He's Colossus's brother. And you have fought Holocaust, the other 3 horsemen of Apocalypse. And then the last phase takes place in Egypt, which is more or less where Apocalypse was born some 5,000 years ago. And you find out his fiendish plot after beating the crap out of Dark Beast and bringing him more or less back to sanity. And you find that Apocalypse is using a fiendish device that takes the powers of the mutants he has kidnapped and augments himself with them. And provided you can go through the steps, and Apocalypse will make it pretty clear what he doesn't like. Don't use my device. Get away from my device. Get away from that power generator. Then you just might be able to beat him. And as a direct sequel, there are several question marks. What happened to Magma? What happened to Psylocke? What happened to Jubilee? I don't know.
They all went on a ladies' getaway. They were actually on, the Destiny cruise lines and just having a good time.
Meanwhile, why is Bishop here? I remember Bishop. He came from the future. I think that deserves some explanation, but no, he's just here. Nobody ever bothers to address that. Why is Sunfire here? I don't know. He's just here. Why is the Scarlet Witch here when we never talked about her in the first game?
Storyline. Any more storyline?
Unless you want me to go into details on any of
No,
this.
because I'm about to go into details here, okay? All right. I kind of mentioned this before, but I'm really pissed at lineup here. I still am pissed. Even when I read it again, I get even more pissed about it, okay? So, I mean, again, we have all these different things we could pick from. Now, you think you would have gotten more. You get a core 15. You get up to 18 or so, depending on the version that you're playing, and what you unlock along the way or whatever have you. But the core 15 here, yes, you're right. Bishop, what the hell? Who cares about Bishop? I don't care about Bishop. I don't want Bishop. Who comes up with this list? Okay, so we have Bishop,
I like Bishop.
Oh, come on. You're talking about the...
Nightcrawler is really good in this
We're
game.
talking
I'll
about
give
the
it that.
top 15 here, and this is the best we can come. Okay, so Colossus, cool, Cyclops, Gambit, Iceman, Jean Grey, and Nightcrawler,
Rogue.
Storm, and Rogue. So you got some of the core people you brought up from the first one. Why in the world they just can bring over all the first ones and add to that? I don't know, but that's what you get. Okay, so some of these other guys. Yeah, Sunfire. Let me just tell you a little about Sunfire, okay? I'm gonna read this right from Wikipedia because I can't put it into better words myself. Sunfire is a temperamental and arrogant Japanese mutant who can generate superheated plasma and fly. Not suited for teamwork, Sunfire was only briefly a member of the X-Men and has kept limited ties with the team ever since. What the hell? So we're taking this guy who just shows up in cameo appearances once in a while because nobody really likes him. There's much better and more charismatic flame-throwing mutants and stuff like that. Hell, you can bring back Starfire, whatever her name is, but Firestar or whatever. Okay, moving on. All right. So, yes, you got Toad. Lord, come on, really, guys? You're killing me. Oh my goodness. Scarlet Witch who doesn't know whether she's coming or going. Her mind is... This is the lady personally
who instituted the House of M.
Who instituted the House M and managed to totally eradicate a cajillion mutants on her own.
She didn't kill them. She just made them not mutants
Yeah,
anymore.
whatever. Okay, this is silly.
Because she was mad when everybody kept fighting after she made mutants on top of the world.
Yeah. So you can unlock Deadpool, which I guess some people...
You have to beat the game to do that.
Which I guess some people like him.
You do get to beat the crap out of him at one boss fight, and he's not that hard, honestly.
And I never really cared for him either, so, yeah. We
you can get
Iron Man, who's not even... What the hell? What the hell, guys? Come on.
Actually, I think Tony Stark might be a mutant just because of the sheer amount of alcohol he pours down, but that's questionable.
And then, of course, what everybody wants to play in a fighting, action RPG, Professor X. That's what I... Come on, guys. Come on. No. Now, if you got the PSP version, you could also get Cable, Cannonball, X-Man, and my personal favorite, Dark Phoenix. Now, that kind of... if I can go around and just blow the whole, world up like she does, then sure. Now, hook me up.
What is the limit to Phoenix's power? There really
No,
isn't
not
any.
really any. That's why they all pretty much had to gang up on her. You got on the PC version, you finally get Pyro. You had to buy the crappiest version that no one played to get Pyro, the coolest bad guy on the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Wait, the crappiest version that no one bought, so you're saying it was in the N-Gage version?
Oh, well, that's... Yeah.
Yeah, who are the exclusive characters for the N-Gage?
Beast. Poor Beast. Did he really deserve that? You could have swapped Toad out with Beast. I don't know. Sabretooth thoughts on the PC version.
I'll give it this because Beast is in some plot moments. That's why you can't play as him. But
you can't in the
seriously,
N-Gage.
Was it that hard to rework?
Anywho, so, okay. Gameplay, very, very similar. There's been some tweaks and stuff. I think they got... Do they still have... Yeah, they had healing potions in this one still?
Yep, and the amount you can carry still goes up as you gain in levels. There are some enemies here where you need to use certain moves, like the pop-up or the... whatever it is, the sweep. Or else they just take damage really, really slowly. Oh, and here's a big change. I noticed this. You could throw things in the first game, but it didn't do much damage. Here, if you chuck a box at people, it'll do over 100 damage.
And some deadly boxes.
Or some barrels or some jars, what have you. And if you've got somebody who can pick up heavy things like Rogue or Juggernaut, then, yeah, just chuck things at people. It works. Unless your damn teammates get in the way, but at least it doesn't hurt them.
I think I think one of the gameplay differences that bugged me on this one, I mean, there was definitely some improvements. There's a couple steps.
And Phil, if you put certain people together, the announcer will tell you that you've just done a good thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, if you put certain teamers, like if you put the classic X-Men together, I don't know what exactly it says, but it would say original team or classic X-Men or whatever have you if you stuck Cyclops
Cyclops, Jean Grey, Gambit, and Rogue, then it says double date.
Double date, jeez.
And I think every enemy guarantees a health drop at that point, or something like that.
Yeah, and that became more fleshed out in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but yeah, it's in.
And if you put the Brotherhood of Evil together, then you get more experience.
Yeah.
At least that's what it told me.
And so So okay, so my issue with the game with some of the RP mechanics on this one is in the first one you would be I mean, what you got this pool of characters, right? It's a freaking 20-hour game or so. You're gonna want to play with all of them, right? With the first one, when you would swap them out, let's say you had Wolverine sitting on the bench for a while, and everyone made up to level 10. When you brought Wolverine off the bench, he'd be like level 8 or something like that in the first one. He kind of kept up a bit, but in this one, it feels like he's in cold stasis or something. I swear, because you bring him off the bench, everyone else is level 10, he's level 5, and it really matters in this game.
I didn't notice it that much actually.
Oh, it was a yes.
Now, okay.
Did you swap out a lot?
This part, Phil.
Did you swap? Were you a swapper?
I swapped a fair amount.
Were you a swapper?
Everybody stayed. Well, not. Let me think. By the end of the game, I think I had Rogue and Gambit at level 40, and my lowest level people were about level 30. But it does make a difference because of the equipment you get. So much of it is tied to level. You can't equip it until you're the right level, and the game starts giving you stuff that you can only equip at, level 35 when nobody's yet reached level 35. So somebody you don't have in the active team, forget it. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
So for that, on that basis, yes, I will completely agree with you.
But if you level up the Juggernaut, why would you need anyone else?
Juggernaut wins again.
So I remember stick with this one. It was more like, well, for those two reasons. The fact that I really didn't like too many of the characters, so I just would pick out of those 15, I would pick 4 of the 6 that I actually liked, and just stick with them because of that. The experience issue, I swear.
Well, Magneto can make bridges this time around. He just pulls up some random scrap metal and bam, you got a bridge. Or you can have Iceman do it again.
Yeah, I mean, the ones who are on the bench, I think they do earn some. I don't know what the exact formula is or anything like that. It's not like they're totally frozen. It just felt like when I brought them in, they were like really behind. For some reason, I just remember feeling it more in this game than the other one. I just remember it being an issue, making me go, grr. It might have been because I stuck with that one group of 4 or 6, so the other ones really fell behind. 40 to 30 is a pretty big gap. I think you'd feel that if you did bring those other people off the bench.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. I just liked Rogue, so I used her a lot.
And that's
Gambit kicks ass, so you want to use Gambit.
Yeah, it just, as I'm saying, it's like for a game that gives you all these toys in a toy box to play with, it just felt like it punished you if you were actually playing with all of them because you're going to be spreading the experience around. It seems like it would have made more sense just to go ahead and just have everybody who you have in your party, or anybody you have anyways, picked up from that point on the bench or anyways, just earn all the same experience. That would make, I don't know, maybe a little bit slower. Anyways, that was the only thing.
Well, it's also because I use the Danger Room a lot, and sometimes the computer will just pick teams for you, and I didn't really feel like switching them out. Because, again, I played it on PS2 with the load times. God darn it.
Yeah, you just have to be very patient, because, Here,
I want to praise something about this game. The fights with the 4 Horsemen and Apocalypse, they're pretty involved. You actually go through multiple stages, and you don't just get to beat the crap out of them. You have to think about what you're doing a little bit. With Abyss, when you fight him, you wail on him for a while, but then he runs away, and he gets onto a blimp, and you get onto another blimp, and he throws bombs that you have to throw back at him, and then he sucks you into himself, and you, I guess, have to blow up bombs within him that somehow explode Abyss without you getting caught in it. Don't ask me to explain that. And then when you fight Holocaust, he's doing it with these 3 ex-pupils of Emma Frost, and they're just being annoying jerks. And first you have to beat the crap out of them, even though they're casting extra images of themselves all over, some of which you can't hurt at all. And then Holocaust pops up, and you have to take them out one at a time, or else they'll make him invulnerable. And with Apocalypse, well, you first have to wail on him a little bit, and then he'll activate the device, and then you have to use the device yourself to gain the power to smash your way through to its generators and take out both of them, and only then can you beat up Apocalypse himself. And then he'll revive the 4 Horsemen to help him out. Because he's Apocalypse, he's a jerk. Nobody named Apocalypse is a nice guy. So, I just wanted to praise the boss fights, even the ones like Omega Red or Lady Deathstrike, or what else is there? There are a bunch of them, but most of the ones that don't take place at the end of the acts are just, here, I'm going to show up, speak some lines, and then you're going to kick the crap out of me.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit tighter gameplay and definitely some improvements. It's definitely worth playing.
Oh,
Most
yeah.
assuredly.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to play as the Juggernaut.
Yeah, hello.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I'm unstoppable. And Patrick Stewart's back as Professor Xavier.
The way nature intended.
Hey, the man just fits the role to a T.
Yeah, I remember when that movie originally came out. It was just like, it seems like he was kind of born to play this role. He was just so perfect.
I don't know why Tony Jay couldn't be brought back to voice Magneto, because the guy they got, he doesn't sound like Magneto to me. He sounds like some kind of generic bad guy who is not the leader of anything. A henchman, not a leader of any bad guy team.
Okay. Well, definitely.
And yeah, it's certainly. I finished pretty much all the Danger Room missions. I went around and made sure I got lots of to get Iron Man, you have to find 4 distress signals in each act, and only then can you rescue him from where Apocalypse lured him to another dimension with a beautiful woman.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that'll work.
It's Tony Stark, yeah, why not?
Superman has kryptonite, Tony Stark. A bottle of Jack Daniels would have also worked. Just saying.
I think Apocalypse had just created a beautiful woman from his infinite factory or something. So whatever. And if you have found all of the distress beacons, then you have gotten all of the pieces of Iron Man's suit in the earlier acts, and now you can give them to him and he will fight with you. And
Yay.
You know what? He's actually pretty good.
Well, if he's anything like he was, because I obviously did not take the time to unlock him. If he's anything like he was in Ultimate Alliance, could definitely see him being quite useful.
Well, he's got a variety of abilities, and I'm sure if I felt like replaying the game, then I could have pushed his power into the stratosphere. Apparently, he is so powerful that with those robots you fight in one of the acts that do a little bit of damage back to you after hitting them, he can hit them so hard that he will kill himself with the backlash.
Oh, God.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
And the music in this one, I noticed it a lot more. It's a lot more standard video game music-y instead of background film score-ish. At least that was my impression. It's pretty nice, though I didn't remember much of it.
Yeah, it does the job.
And in the first one, the only music I remembered is that the electric guitar really gets cranking when there are enemies in the area, and then it just fades back to mood music when everybody's gone.
Yeah, I always wish they could fit the theme song to that old X-Men cartoon into one of these games somehow, but alas.
Yep. Oh, but I don't think Fox had any role in this, and
no.
The copyright lawyers would have had a field day. Sad. Apparently Colossus is kind of buggy, I have heard that, but I didn't use him much because he seems kind of gimped from the first game.
Yeah.
I still remember the arcade game where you press his mutant power and he just goes roar, and like somehow him turning into the steel somehow unleashes this ball of energy around him that wipes all the enemies, which is totally nothing like the comics. But hey, we need a power that's flashy, so that's what we're gonna do.
That's the one you get replenished every time you throw in another quarter.
Yeah.
That will hurt everything. Even the bosses.
That's the one where
just like Wolverine gets that ability to shoot a sonic
boom out of his claws. Yeah, that's the game where it hurts to use your mutant powers. That's the funny thing. It's like, if you're out of those little energy balls, the next time you press your mutant power, you lose like a third of your life. It's like,
I don't remember even being able to use them after you run.
Yeah, you could eat up chunks of your life, but if you were already low on life, it wouldn't let you use it. So if you had full life or over half, you could use it and it would eat up a chunk of your power. The balls allowed you to use the power without chewing up your life, but you only got like one of those every board or pumping in cord.
Well, of course. So otherwise, how are you going to?
Yeah.
How are you going to support Konami's bottom line?
Yeah. So yeah. So anyways, X-Men Legends 2: Rise of the Apocalypse. So many different ways to play that one. Definitely worth picking up.
Yeah. Was Tony Stark also on the GameCube and Xbox? Did those get any unique characters?
I think it was just the
just the ones.
PSP
that
had different characters, and the main console ones were all the same.
What about the N-Gage?
Well, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares about the N-Gage. Remember, you got to play Beast. Remember, Beast.
Wait, I see on GameFAQs that there is a mobile version of this. I cannot see how that could work well.
Oh dear.
This is not a game I would want to do with touchscreen.
Alrighty, we need to move on.
Probably.
Yeah. We've had too much fun. And now it's
Are we
time to
going to
move on.
go back to the distant past or to the recent past? One of which you like to remember, and one of which you would prefer be purged from your mind forever.
You know, I'll talk about the past during the final lap, since technically they're not what we consider RPGs. We'll stay with the main RPGs here in the main segment. So yes, we're ready. We're strapped in. We were taking a deep breath. Have you played this one, by the way, Apps?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
I don't know why not.
But hey, we've got Adrian's review on the site.
Yes, everybody go read it. So yeah, we're gonna talk about your destiny. My destiny, I should say, was to lose this Saturday. I will never get back again. X-Men Destiny, developed by Silicon Knights, published by Activision. Shame. Anyways, this was
Silicon Knights.
Yeah,
Isn't that the company that made Too Human?
Beats me.
Yes, it is.
Another a game that I seem to recall also not living up to its potential, but I don't think in quite the drastic fashion this one did.
No, I guess the developer actually was more focused on a different project while they made this game. And it showed, apparently.
Yeah, so X-Men Destiny, this one came out on the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, the Wii, and the Nintendo DS. This was released in North America on September 27th, 2011. And this is a beat-em-up action RPG. Now, it's called a beat-em-up action RPG because after you get done playing it, you want to beat yourself. I mean, this is a single-player game. So, in X-Men Destiny...
yes, because the multiplayer was a completely superfluous aspect of X-Men Legends.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to do with that. But anyways, X-Men Destiny. So, in this game, I thought of like 15 different ways to introduce this, but I'll try not to be too silly tonight. So in X-Men Destiny, you are put into the role of a new mutant who will end up joining the X-Men or the Brotherhood of Mutants. So you mentioned before, Mike, about a little concern with, why are we playing Magma? Who's this Magma chip? We should just stick with... Well, you know, she actually was in X-Men, just a rather obscure one. But who wants to play X-Men when you can play totally one of three totally unknown... something somebody thought of when they woke up in the morning that is totally uninspired and... Yeah, when you have all this rich history of... Yeah, we have this rich history of characters. You get to pick between these two guys who pretty much look the same to me for some reason. One looks like a football jock, and the one looks just a little bit less jockey. And the Asian chick who slightly reminds me of Jubilee. So that is... At least she sort of reminded me of an X-Men, so I kind of went with her. And then once you choose your X-Men, you get to choose from one of three different power sets. One had to do with shadows, the other one energy projection, which since I'm going Jubilee, that's what I'm going with. And the third one was uninspired. Something about gravity, make your body hard and dense. Some kind of boring crap. So energy protection, I want to blow things up. Let me stick with that. And whatnot. Now in X-Men Legends, we talked about how as a new mutant, you were eventually brought back to the mansion and set through the paces and trained. You probably found that a little drawn out and boring. Wouldn't it be much more exciting if instead, as a brand new mutant who just discovered her powers today, you were thrown right into the action and eventually going up against the biggest, baddest enemies in X-Men history? I mean, because that's what every new person does in their first day, right?
Well, yes, that's called trial by fire.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the whole Kitty Pryde story was. She ended up having to play a part with Juggernaut.
Oh, we forgot. Kitty Pryde was there briefly in Act 4 of Legends 2. You could talk to her in the ruins of Xavier's mansion. You still couldn't play her, though.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see her phasing through enemies and just shorting out robots in one move, but nope, can't do it.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun.
So,
I'm sorry, Phil, but I just had to talk about something pleasant.
Well, there's some pleasantness here somewhere. Anyway, the story is said as, okay, so get this. The story starts off with there is a Cyclops on stage with this government guy who's named Reyes. I actually remember the name. Oh my God. Louis Reyes, who is representing some arm of the government that runs a military force that is generally known for rounding up mutants and stuff. But him and Cyclops have come to an agreement, and this is a monumentous occasion. There's going to be speeches. So people are gathering out front. Now, what's really funny is when you first boot up the game, it sets this stage and provides some of the backdrop of how, mutants have been persecuted and stuff like that, and the X-Men have been through some rather traumatic things and the such, and they're no longer got the X-Mansions. So I guess that's why you don't get the beginning training deals and whatever have you. But now it looks like there's going to be some peace, and there's going to be some hope, and now Cyclops is going to be shaking this guy's hand. So it's really funny is when you're picking those 3 characters at the beginning, the Jock, it says clearly under his bios that whatever the hell his name is, Bob, let's just call him because I don't really care. Bob knows nothing. He wants to be an NFL football player, whatever the deal is. He knows or cares nothing about mutant things. And I believe the stage is set to where none of these guys actually know they have powers yet. So why in the hell is he at a mutant reception? I have no idea. He's standing there holding onto his football, holding it like it's some sort of baby and petting it, and he's at this rally where, there's a 99% chance Magneto or someone's going to show up and crash the party anyways. Why is he there? I have no idea. But I'm playing the Asian chick who also has really no great reason to be there because her story is her father sent her away on a boat. Again, I give him plenty of reason to believe she doesn't know she has powers yet. I could be wrong, but the impression I got from the story was when she was on the boat being sent away from Japan, her father sent her off. Her father's clearly a mutant because he walks away and lights up like magma. But she's being sent away, and then when all hell breaks loose, as you know it's going to, suddenly her powers emerge, and she saves people and stuff, because, that's what every new mutant, they just got great control of their powers, and they start saving people right away. So it's about being in control of your destiny, right?
It is.
It is.
How can you doubt that?
It is.
The instant you gain powers, you know how to use them without any exceptions.
Without exceptions, and you got Emma Frost in your brain right there from the beginning telling you to take a deep breath and focus, and that's what trains you right there. Who needs to do hours and hours in the Hollow Suite or whatever the hell it's called? No. You've got Emma Frost in your brain, so it's just great. So
Emma Frost was in her brain?
Yeah. Anywho, so as you're going through this storyline, which isn't really any bit of exciting at all, you will have to make decisions along the way of whether to support the X-Men or the just known as the Brotherhood of Mutants. No longer, they finally decide to take the evil out. They must have had like a little get together, had a company meeting or something, and saying, "Hey guys, this little evil part is really not helping our reputation. The media's really tearing this up. So can we take it out?" So they finally took it out. It's just a Brotherhood of Mutants, and throughout the whole thing, you will have to make decisions on whether you help one or the other out. And at the very end, you will get a choice to jump ship, jump shark, whatever you want to call it. So very much like,
haven't we already jumped the shark?
Yeah, so very much like Knights of the Old Republic. So this mechanic, I mean, that's kind of the focus of Destiny, is you're controlling your destiny. But the mechanic to do it, where you just make some decisions as you go along and decide which side you want to help, is something that was new, maybe with Knights of the Old Republic, or before that even.
I remember in Knights of the Old Republic, if you chose the path that was not compatible with most of the decisions you'd been making, then it wouldn't work out very well for you. You would just go to neutral and have no strength whatsoever.
Yeah, and what's kind of disappointing in this one is I went with the X-Men, of course, on my first run through, but most of these games, when you get all the way, like if you're playing Infamous is another great one where you can make good or dark side choices or whatever they're called, when you finally cap out on one direction or the other, you will unlock a really cool super power, and you got to maintain your good standing or bad standing in order to be able to access that, I believe. I could be wrong, but with X-Men, I'm like capping out on my X-Men. I'm waiting for something to happen. Maybe I think what happened. Oh, I remember what happened. I got an X-Men outfit, which didn't do anything. A classic X-Men. Was it a classic X-Men outfit? No, I got my own X-Men outfit for my character. And then, yeah, one of the few cool parts about this game, Mike, is the outfits. Throughout the game, there are powers and outfits hidden, so you will want to look around nooks and crannies every time you pass up an alleyway. If there's a side passage, you want to look behind it. Make sure you're not missing anything there. I don't know if I found every single one of them, but I found like probably 6 or 7. And the generic suit you start off with her with, she's always wearing a scarf over her neck for some reason, so you never really see her whole face. But no matter whose outfit she's wearing, she's still got the ugly scarf. But it was pretty cool when you start off with this ugly outfit. It looks like Peppy Longstockings or something. But then later on, you find the first one you get, though. So I'm like, it says you've got a new outfit. I'm like, yay, Mike. I'm like all excited. I go into my options menu to equip it. Guess who it is? Toad's outfit.
What?
The first outfit I got was Toad's. I'm like, really? All the characters you can come again. Here we are with the Toad. You can't give me somebody.
What is Toad's outfit?
It's like the green and orange homage from the old. We're talking like the older comics, not the new one nowadays. He just basically wears jeans and a tee, and that's what he was wearing in the game. But his suit was inspired by his older suits that he used to wear in the, I want to say, late '80s, early '90s or so. It actually on her looked all right. Actually, it ended up being, ironically enough, as far as the looks of it goes, ended up being one of my favorite ones. Functionally, it did crap because the suits do give you powers. Later on, you get Wolverine's outfit, and you want that outfit because you know what that's going to come with. Healing factor. And that actually does help for some of the longer boss battles. You can equip Wolverine's defensive power, which gives you some healing, but equipping it with the suit gives you more decent healing that actually matters. The regular healing.
So what did Toad's outfit give you?
You know, I think it's supposed to add acid to an attack or something like that. But again, like with most of these action games, when you tell me you add like 5% damage or 10% damage, I just kind of scoff because things die so fast anyways. Except for maybe the big bosses, 5 or 10% or acid damage or whatever the hell it was just don't really matter. So, but the healing factor, I guess it'd be okay to equip something. No. Yeah, because see, I would say in boss battles, that extra damage probably adds up and matters when you're fighting for 10 minutes. But then again, that's when you really want Wolverine's shirt anyways, or outfit anyways, because that healing is so bloody helpful in the longer fights, especially towards the end. So the outfits was pretty cool. The character model for the character I was playing was actually, pretty decent. And I had Gambit. Every time I got a new outfit, I wanted to see what it looked like. So I had Gambit's outfit and Colossus and the such. So it was kind of cool throwing those on. And at the end, what was really cool is, so as you're going through the game, you will have options to kind of go a tiny bit off the beat. It's a very linear game. Very linear. But you do have the opportunity to pick up some challenge optional missions along the way. And you'll oftentimes find yourself wondering, should I go left? Or like you'll see an X, which means take me to the next point in the story, but you're not sure if you shouldn't search around first to see if you can find another X somewhere else that might lead you to a challenge mission. And the challenge missions would start off like defeat 20 enemies in 2 minutes. And then the next one would be like defeat 35 enemies in 2 minutes. And this would climb up and up and up. When the game is completely over, don't shut it off. I mean, if you survive this long, you need to wait on a few more minutes. Because at the end, when the credits are rolling, it gives you a challenge mission of defeating like 200 or 250 enemies before the credits are done. And there's no timer on the screen, so you're just like going crazy, just trying to kill everything. So the good stuff aside from the outfits is as you're leveling up in your in certain parts of the story, you will have to pick between one of two different powers. So it's usually a good idea. It automatically saves at certain points. So whenever you get a new power, test it out really quickly before it saves again and see if it's something you like, and then reload if you don't like it and pick the other one. Because these will be important for your play style. Some of them felt a little unbalanced or overpowered. The very first X power I got, which is the one that actually uses up you'll have this mutant power bar on the screen, boys and girls. For the first 2 hours, you don't even touch the blink. You're like, why is that there? Am I doing something wrong? Is there a control I'm missing out on? No, you can throw around normal attacks, and with energy protection, your attacks look very much like Jubilee's. Instead of firing a straight ray or something, it's more like these balls of energy that go around in circles and arcs and stuff, which reminds me of Jubilee's fireworks plasma burst. And then the sharp attack were like 2 ion deals that would attack the enemy from either side. But as you level up, you'll unlock powerful attacks that take off your energy bar. The first one I got was this shield that would paralyze the enemies, drain them of their life, and if you kill the enemies while they're in the shield, they would blow up health bubbles. So it was a great way to replenish your health and take out enemies at the same time for only one energy blip and the such. So you get 2 other powers. The next one takes 2, and the last one, the ultimate attack, takes 4. So being able to pick those powers, and you earn experience point baubles that you will be able to use to power up those powers, power up your suit and stuff. That's pretty cool. So you pick up, as you're going along, you'll also find hidden little, I don't know what the word is for them exactly, but I'll call them buffs. There's offensive buffs, defensive buffs, and utility buffs. And you can equip, and they're after other X-Men. So you'll find Wolverine's defensive ability ability, which gives you a small regeneration factor. You'll find Colossus's defensive ability, which gives you more resistance to attacks. You'll find Quicksilver's utility ability, which allows you to run around really fast when you're holding down the power and the X button. So this having...
How does the game justify this? That they're like the abilities of these characters, or that Wolverine, Quicksilver, and Colossus just left their powers out on the road for you to find somehow?
Well, part of the story of the game is the bad guys are trying to, the U-Men instead of X-Men, the letter U for umbrella. So the U-Men department tries to suck out X-Men powers and injects it into you through needles or whatever have you. So they're basically making their own mutants, which is a little weird, but whatever, because they hate mutants, but they're making mutants to fight mutants because they hate mutants. I'm not really sure. Anyways, so I'm guessing that these powers...
What happened to Sentinels?
oh, don't worry. I'm about to talk about the Sentinel. The one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, he's coming. So in the game itself, you will occasionally see a bad guy inject himself. In fact, one of the bosses you fight, he just he has 3 stages of fighting. I thought the game was going to be over with this guy. And every stage he's injecting himself with another vial of mutant power. So I'm guessing when you're picking up these other guys' powers, they kind of look like needles floating in the air. I'm thinking maybe these are leftovers because the human got a little sloppy. Not really sure. But it is kind of cool that you get to pick out on the fly. Do you want to be, Wolverine's regeneration factor? Do you want Quicksilver speed? And you can power these up. They're not super game breaking or anything like that, but it is fun to tweak around and figure out what works for you.
I like game breaking.
Yeah. Well, they're actually a little underwhelming in my opinion, but it was kind of cool to be able to tweak them out and fart around and be able. Once you get like Quicksilver speed, that makes running around the bigger boards a lot easier. So that's kind of cool. That's good. I mentioned the powers. Another thing that's good is. Her final power for energy projection, boys and girls, you gotta get this. You become a freaking sun. Literally. Like, you become a ball of plasma floating in the air that has such a strong gravitational pull that all the enemies start rotating around you as they're taking damage from the intense heat you're radiating. And you do that for like 30 seconds, something like that. And you just watch them all die. And that's how I cleared out 200 enemies during the credits without breaking a sweat. In fact, if there was a counter on there, I swear I killed like 500. Because, it was just fun running around just being a sun, a big old ball of fire. And that takes 4 mutant power bars, but you build it up pretty quick by doing regular attacks. So feel free to go all Nova on their ass and just have fun. So that's pretty much the good. Let's talk about the bad, because, oh my God, it's so bad. They had some good ideas. You can see it. You could see the promise in this game. There's some, when I remember when they were first talking about this game and they were really selling it, you were kind of really getting into it. You could see that there was a lot of good promise here, but the execution is just so flawed. You'll see it, aside from the crappy story, beginning of why you're a new mutant and you're joining the X-Men and how forced that all feels, how suddenly you go from being this person who didn't care about mutants at all, but hey, I'm attending this big get-together, to, an hour later, you are a full-blown Brotherhood mutant or X-Men, and you're basically doing everything Jean Grey or Magneto, whoever tells you to do, and you're saving people and putting your life on the line, rather than just going, holy cow, I just got this power, I don't know how to control it, I'm getting out of here, I only care about myself. That's what you should be doing. But instead, you're like, yes, Cyclops, I'll go and help Nightcrawler immediately and kill 200 bad guys. Okay, but aside from that, there is the crap. Aside from the crappy story, crappy graphics. I've heard in certain game reviews on games that I never buy because I tend to buy things that are under 70%. But you often hear people say great promise, flawed execution. Oh my God, that is like the central theme of this game. From the very beginning, you're going to notice slowdowns like you wouldn't believe. At some points the game's running at like 3 frames a second. You're going to see very muddy textures. You're going to see this might as well be called the Clone Wars because you see the same effing enemies over and over. All you do is beat up the same crappy enemies over and over again. And these enemies, they introduce them at the beginning, the Purifiers. So this is a group of people who are just out to purify mutants everywhere. Now, we know mutants have incredible powers like Magneto, who can just take all metal and throw it back at you and things like that. And Cyclops got blasters for eyes and stuff like that. So if I'm going to create an anti-mutant group, let me see here. I could go all high tech and find plasma rifles and anti-mutant things that, can shut down their powers and stuff. Or I could even go for automatic weapons that, outside of Magneto and a few others, Colossus and stuff, then bullets will stop a lot of mutants. They're not all powerful. No, maybe I should pick electric sticks that I have to get up really close and hit them really hard in order to do a little bit of damage.
Wait. So you're saying that tasers are the
Tasers are the answers. Your first 4 freaking hours of this game, all you're doing is fighting people with tasers. And you're like, are you serious? And you wouldn't think this would be much of a threat to somebody who's throwing plasma out of her hands until you realize that as an X-Men, you have one big handicap. Awful controls.
You can't kill them?
No, awful, stiff controls. This is an action RPG, more of an action beat-em-up game with some RPG mechanics. So, of course, you need the game usually to respond fully. You kind of expect to jump when you hit the jump button. Here, it's very, very stiff. It feels almost like an Atari game or something like that. In fact that, once you start an animation, you can't quickly get out of it. So, it takes a while to get used to. It's nothing that...
Yeah, that's an insult to Atari games.
Yeah.
Those animations took place very quickly.
It's not something that's going to stop you from beating the game or anything like that, but it will get you frustrated for the first hour or so till you get used to it, and then it'll rear up its ugly head every now and then. You'll be like, I didn't dodge that big enemy's attack. Now, we've got a bucket full of really great enemies in the X-Men's history. Remember we were talking about, good characters, good enemies? I know what I want to be fighting. Enemies like Hodge. Like the guy whose name is Hodge, Cameron Hodge. Yeah, everybody remembers him. Screw Magneto or anybody. Hodge. Your first 5 hours, you are fighting these people, whether it's souped up humans or... Hold on. Excuse me. Sorry. Whether it's, souped up humans or some no-name guy in the division or whatever have you, you're fighting it's just very, very boring until maybe the last third of the game where they finally come up with some reasons for you to fight Juggernaut and Magneto and the such. When they do bring out some of those big guys, the mechanics behind those big guys feel really, really sucky. In fighting Magneto, for example, you're basically looking down this long corridor. Now, you're outside and you can't fly, but there's piles of trash on to your left and to your right. So essentially, you might as well be looking down a large hallway of Magneto floating in the air. He's got Cyclops wrapped in metal near his feet while he's flying up in the air. Now, he was able to wrap up Cyclops like that and shut Cyclops down. But of course, you're the new mutant here, so you're just totally going to take on Magneto by yourself. So what happens is
I don't know if shutting down Cyclops is that much of an accomplishment when Storm was able to do it without any powers.
So here, well, you know what? I mean, my powers aren't much better than his because I just shoot plasma. He's got a beam that can go for miles, and I've got plasma bolts 10 feet. But
yeah, he does have experience on his
and
side.
he has experience. So, Cyclops should put up a much better fight thing. But anyways, I'm going to be the one to save Cyclops. So what happens is as you're running down this long corridor trying to make your way to Cyclops, the Magneto is throwing these large pieces of metal at you, and it becomes like, for lack of a better definition, it becomes like steeplechase from the Atari, where so they'll throw a big piece of metal, and you'll see a clear hole in it, either to the left, the middle, or the right, and that's where you need to be at, boys and girls. Occasionally, he'll throw a little piece of metal that you just need to completely jump over, and because of the stiff controls and the fact they're not as responsive as they should be, and he doesn't give you a lot of time to think about where you should be at, you'll find yourself being hit more time than not. But just through your sheer stubbornness, eventually you will make it to Cyclops. You'll need to beat up on the cage that's surrounding him because Magneto's going to let you stand there and do that. And then once you break Cyclops free, he shoots a laser at Magneto in the air, which forces Magneto to the ground. And then Magneto's going to sit there while you totally kick his ass on the ground because Magneto's not going to fly up and hit you with range at that. Now, what happens, you'll get him down.
Again, that's absolutely understandable.
Absolutely.
Magneto is known for just sitting around and letting you do that.
Now, the more of the unpolished comes through because what will happen is about 1/3 of the way through his life, suddenly the screen will, he'll get up, but without any transition whatsoever, the screen will suddenly shift and you'll find yourself back at the beginning of the corridor, Cyclops trapped at the other end, and you have to go through the cycle again.
And you're like, this doesn't make any sense. I had freed Cyclops. Cyclops shot him down. He's beating him up. But now suddenly Cyclops is trapped again. And I've got to go running through more pieces of metal and stuff and go through and rinse and repeat. You end up doing this 3 times to beat Magneto. It feels unpolished. It feels clunky. It feels stupid. Yeah. Towards the end, speaking of the Sentinel, I think that was probably one thing that at least felt a little iconic. That the problem is when you're setting up these big battles, you need the battles to make you feel like you're really fighting against these enemies from the comic books. You didn't get that sense of scope with your fight with Magneto or any of the other guys for that matter. But the Sentinel guy, he is freaking huge. He's as big as a building. He lands on top of a building. So he's at the top of the building somehow. Now, for some reason, again, this stuff is just not explained. It's not polished. When you're going towards the building that eventually is going to have the Sentinel, your character is teleporting from place to place, and it's not Nightcrawler doing it. It's really kind of weird. But then you get teleported to, let's say, the 50th floor of this building, but the Cyclops is on the roof, which is the 70th floor. So you've got to jump up the side of the buildings to get up to the Sentinel who's at the top. Why couldn't you just teleport to the top and already be up there with the Sentinel? Nobody knows. All right, so what happens? You start jumping up, and the camera changes to where it's behind your ass, looking up at the Sentinel who's on the roof, who sees you crawling up, and like King Kong, he's firing these plasma blasts out of his hands down at you. And by watching where the hands are going to be at, you know again whether you need to be to the left, the middle, or the right. It feels like an Atari game again because you really need to be in one of 3 places. And again, because of the stiff controls and jumping mechanics in this game especially suck, you're going to get hit a lot, and this guy does a lot of damage. So equipping Wolverine's suit, highly recommended. Might help you to sustain a couple more blasts. I died like 4 times. I got through the entire game without dying because I put it on easy because I just wanted to get through it. I died 4 times on that fight. And speaking of loading times, go out and grab yourself a hot dog, boys and girls, every time you die. Because, yeah, the wife got to hear me use some choice words. 4-letter...
Wait, grab a hot dog every time you die? That's going to make you really fat, isn't it?
Yeah. I was using 4-letter words, and none of them had a letter X in them. So, got to the top. And then the Sentinel goes flying off, and he starts hitting you. He kind of comes up close, does some attacks there. It reminded me a little bit of the beat-em-up arcade game and stuff like that, but it was kind of cool. It was okay. It was about as good as you make a Sentinel, and it did make you feel like you were fighting something really big, at least. That was probably the only halfway decent fight, even though, again, because of the controls and stuff, it ended up being a lot more frustrating than it should have. The final battle was meh. The endings, the story and stuff, I won't give away any more of the plot, but I will say...
Hey, it's just over 2 years old.
Yeah, but it's not really that bad. No. I mean, it's okay. It's no more spectacular than the other Legends game or anything like that. I will say one of the other cool things is you do get to fight along the other X-Men. Like, there will be battles where there'll be a lot of enemies and they'll join in and Iceman will come in and fight you. That's kind of cool. But you don't ever get to play as the other X-Men. You are playing as this new person.
Don't they have terrible AI?
Yeah, they kind of suck. They just kind of do their own thing, and yeah, but the environments are bland. They're extremely recycled. There's platforming mechanics in there where you got to jump from place to place on occasion. It's about as clunky as the X-Men Legends one, where you fall in a pit. You'll fall a few times and die in this one. At least when you die from the pits in here, it just instantly puts you back up on the ledge instead of reloading like when you really die. Because that would take forever. Yeah, you do get to meet I will say there's a lot of talk. It's 6 hours of gameplay, at least, I don't know, I felt like an hour if it was taken talking, which is good because the other 5 hours are just monotonous, beat up the same things and unlock a new power, a new outfit here, just still carrying me through. But the story, you definitely like, it's nice to get to chit-chat with all the X-Men again. Speaking of Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, she doesn't make an appearance here, but you briefly get her powers. Gambit gets a little pissed at you, throws one of the vials that sucked up her powers. I guess the implication is she got extracted in a good way. So she might be dead in this storyline, but he throws it at you to make you feel guilty for not helping him, because I didn't help Gambit. He's a little slimeball in this. And so my character ended up falling through the floor. Yeah, it was a little freak for her. She survived. So, ultimately the unpolishedness of this game really, really makes it hard to recommend. Very, very hard. I feel very, very bad for people who paid $60 when you can get excellent games for $60 that are actually polished, that actually last more than 6 hours. You get this piece of crap, which is clunky, just terrible frame rates, terrible textures, pop-ups, everything graphically offensive. The sound cuts out. Oh, I've
almost forgot to mention during the chit chats back and forth with your other X-Men and stuff. When you pick an option, like I'm going to say this, your character's mouth, I would say roughly 20 to 30% of the time, their mouth will start moving, but the words won't come out for 5 seconds, like one of those Hong Kong lip sync deals. But the camera will flip over to the X-Men that's responding to you at the normal timestamp, and he'll start talking. So what ends up invariably happening is your last few words are coming out while your X-Men buddy is going into his speech. So another thing you'll want to do is turn on subtitles. So at least you have a chance to read it before the X-Men cut you off because your character's mouth isn't going with their words. Again, just completely unpolished. Just absolutely heartbreaking and frustrating. This game could have been so much more. It felt like something that was rushed out of the door, at least 6 months early. Could have used more content. Now, you do get to unlock, because you only get to unlock one of two powers as you're going through. There is this temptation to play through again and try the other half of those powers from that power set, or try in the other two power sets, or play one of the other characters and figure out a little bit about their stories, because they are very artificially interesting in the way that a comic book cheesy storyline is interesting. So there is some temptation there, but the lack of, and in that case, I think I agree with Omega. I read Omega's review, and he says that, because you do have these different ways of playing, these different choices with your power sets, the fact that it's only a 6-hour game, when I played X-Men Legends, there was a temptation to go through and play again, try out other mutants and see what the end game was like, but it was so long, I didn't want to go through it again. But this game is only 6 hours. There's that temptation to run through it again. However, because of the extreme lack of polish, you really don't want to. You really, really don't want to. I only paid like the price of it. I got it new off of Amazon for $15. You probably could find it used for even less than that. At $10 to $15 or less, it's probably worth an experiment, especially if you're a huge fan of X-Men. But there's probably a lot better ways to spend 6 hours. You could probably watch one of those Let's Plays on YouTube where it just shows you the story and maybe get some of that and be happy. But playing through the actual playing itself is just kind of stiff and stuff. I mean, there was some reward for it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely completely agree with the 2.5, which what does that mean? 2.5 below average, or
yeah, that's below average. It's one of the highest reviews out there. Most of them seem to go well. I think IGN gave it a 2 out of 10, and from IGN, you know what that means.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, it's not completely broken. It's just unpolished. It's functional. There is some satisfaction you'll get when you see new outfits on your character, or there's some interesting conversations back and forth with the X-Men. You might care a little about the story. It's okay. I mean, it's about as good as any other X-Men story in video games. Or some of the comics.
I think it sounds like it's better than the one for the arcade game.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What was the story in the arcade game? I think it was Magneto is conquering the world. Go beat the crap out of everybody in the way, and then beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If I was reviewing it as a $60 purchase, I think I would have been extremely pissed at the poor value I got for my money, and that alone would have been enough for me to want to give it a 1. So I can kind of understand where, especially for all the hype they gave it when they were developing it and stuff. I could certainly understand where that sentiment comes from, but at the same time, it's like. Yeah, if you go back, it's a $10 deal. You can definitely find some. Holy crap! The DS version got a 32% on Metacritic. Wow, I played the PS3 version, by the way. I can't imagine what a DS version would be like and how it could be even worse. Apparently, the PS3 version, which got a 51% on Metacritic. It was okay, and it's one of the few ways to play. To get some of the newer to play with, in some of the newer, say with Cyclops now being with Emma, and the new, they're out of the mansion, and it's a new setting if you haven't read the comics in a while. So yeah, for that alone, it's probably worth the $5 or $10 if you really got the time to kill. Yeah, unfortunately, a big disappointment area. So just kind of keep that in. Play it on easy, because really, usually you play harder. You play games on harder if their gameplay's good and you want the satisfaction of feeling, I beat it, I did it, and you felt that satisfaction of overcoming something. Here, you will just feel the frustration of the unpolished gameplay, even more so if you play it on a harder difficulty level. Put it on easy. You're still going to probably die a couple of times, mostly because of the really stiff controls, not because you suck. But at least you'll get through some of the storyline and stuff. So, and you'll enjoy being a big gigantic sun if you go the energy projection route. That is satisfying, I have to admit. So, all right, that is X-Men Destiny. Get it wherever bad games are sold.
as opposed to fine games. Just all right. Well, we're going to take a break. Ready to wrap this up with the final lap. The final lap is that segment of the show where we read your comments, we just talk about what's on our minds, we chew the fat, we talk about whatever the hell we want because it's the final lap. Yeah, buddy. Woohoo. And we talk about what's coming on the next show. The next show is RPG Backtrack number 105. All that glitters is not shining.
This is for you, Phil. You wanted to hear about all the action Shining games? Well, this one's for you, buddy.
Yeah, because everything's better with... I mean, we just figured that out when X-Men went to more action approach with with X-Men... I keep calling it Academy. With X-Men Destiny. I mean, come on, it was a grand slam. Well, it would have been maybe if they had actually polished it. But I'm sure these games are polished, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot more fun. I mean, all the RPGs are going more action-y these days.
Phil, I think you're mixing up in a Grand Slam with, like, a pop-up in the infield.
Ah.
A no-hitter, maybe?
Anything other than a Grand Slam.
So...
Yeah, even the best of those games is not a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
But you know what? We'll talk about that
Nick,
later.
Yeah. So before we go on to our normal things that we normally talk about, I did want to touch on two other X-Men games from the past that I have had the fortune of playing. This is going way back, though. You got X-Men Madness and Murder World from Paragon Software on the computer systems, Amiga, Commodore 64, and DOS back in 1989. It was an adventure game. And it featured Colossus, Cyclops, Dazzler, Nightcrawler, Storm, and Wolverine. Now, back then, I realized it wasn't affording my own video game, so I got whatever my folks got me, and so one of them got me this, and it was, I think one of the coolest part about this game was just the instruction book, and you can find the PDF. I actually found it online, saved it on my computer, but just check out the instruction book, because I'd sit there and you'd read about it had all their stats and their powers and stuff, and I'd look at the pictures that were drawn, and that's how I started learning how to draw was I was drawing Wolverine and Dazzler and stuff, and Nightcrawler. So that was pretty cool. That's back when people took pride in their instruction books. But the game itself is a side-scrolling adventure thing, and it takes place in Murder World. So a very original setting. Professor X been kidnapped by Magneto in Arcade. Don't know why Magneto's hooking up with Arcade. Arcade's kind of a maniac, and Magneto's supposed to, have this grand vision, but not really a maniac. But whatever. It's up to the X-Men to rescue them. When you're going from side to side at a whopping like 3 frames a second, because that's how PC games worked back then when they had that much color. And you're going into Murder World, which is the dangerous and deadly amusement park of terror that Arcade has created. As you're
that's a villain we didn't see in the Legends games, Mojo. I don't know why I thought of that.
Well, back then it wasn't uncommon in the earlier days to have villains that were just completely non-powered, like the Joker and stuff like that, and just have them go crazy on heroes and drive them crazy, even though they had no powers of their own. That's kind of Arcade was the Joker.
Well, Dr. Doom doesn't have any powers, and he has no trouble.
Well, he does have powers. He has it from his suit. He's like Iron Man. Iron Man. No one would argue Iron Man doesn't have powers. It's from his suit. But
arcade, it was like, oh, I've got an amusement park. Really? That's your shtick? You got an amusement park?
So he's a ringmaster. Okay.
He's a ringmaster. He wears this big yellow bow, like the Bobos that has red dots on it. Big grin, red hair, creepy smile. Yeah, you gotta check out the artwork. Just Google X-Men Madness and Murder World on Wikipedia, and I'll put it in the chat for us. But yeah, really kind of creepy little guy. Anyway, so you're going into the park, and it's kind of an arcade platformer. You'll have puzzles that only Nightcrawler, like let's say there's a box with a key in it, but it's like a cage, I should say, with a key in it. Well, Nightcrawler can teleport in a cage, grab the key, and teleport back out. Great. But sometimes the game would subtly test your knowledge of their powers in a way, because let's say, for example, if the box you couldn't see inside of it and you teleported in there, Nightcrawler would usually die. Because anybody who knows about Nightcrawler's powers knows that if he's teleporting someplace he doesn't know, it could be a solid object. And the theory is if he, materializes inside of a solid object, it replaces his organs and he dies. So,
Yeah, arcade looks kind of like the Riddler there.
Yeah.
A little more demented, maybe.
So you go from side to side, and every time you hit the edge of the screen or you go up and down a ladder, you go onto a new screen. It doesn't go smoothly like Super Mario Brothers. It's just one screen at a time. According to the box, it had over 500 action combat screens, and of course there's the puzzle solving of finding this key for this door and the such. And this is back when we didn't have Wikipedia, so I never did actually beat the game. It was pretty hard. What was really funny was sometimes there would be these sentinels. They weren't too tall. They were maybe 6, 7, 8 feet tall. But what was really funny is their lasers were really painful. And in this game, you didn't find a lot of power-ups very often. So you could switch between the 6 X-Men whenever you wanted to, but if they had been hurt, their damage would still be there. What was really funny was Wolverine, though. Another little factoid, Wolverine is one of the shortest X-Men. He's like, I don't know, 5 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot 11 or something like that. So what would be really funny is when you saw a Sentinel, if you pull out Wolverine and could get close enough in time, the lasers would always fly over his head. Because clearly Sentinels can't aim down at an angle. They can only fire horizontally. So that was hilarious. As soon as you saw a Sentinel, you pull out Wolverine and get close. And the cool thing about Wolverine is all the mutants had a mutant power bar, but Wolverine only used his power bar when you try to use Wolverine to tear through a puzzle like a solid door or something like that you thought Wolverine could tear through, which oddly enough wasn't very many doors, even though his skeleton's made out of adamantine. And could, really tear through anything in the comics, but whatever. So you get Wolverine and kill him really fast. If you use the other mutants like Cyclops or Dazzler, or you use Nightcrawler's teleportation too often, you'd suck up a lot of their energy, and it was really hard to replace. So you really didn't use Cyclops any more than you had to, or Dazzler, or Storm. Little Lightning both sucked up power too. Colossus was a good heavy hitter. It did a lot of physical damage, but the problem was he was so tall that all the Sentinel's blast would hit him. He'd hit them, they'd hit him, he'd lose half his life, the Sentinel would die, but now you got a half-life Colossus. So, yeah, the funny thing was there was another game with arcade called Spider-Man and the X-Men and Arcade's Revenge. Came out later on the Super Nintendo, so Arcade I don't know what made them so cool that they wanted to bring them back again, but there you go. That was, I didn't play that one. Then the other game, talk about briefly real fast, was X-Men 2 Fall of the Mutants. Now, this was more of a role-playing game. This was also produced by Paragon Software, released on DOS back in 1990. And on that one, it felt more like a dungeon crawling because you actually saw a map of the mall or whatever you were in. Basically, the X-Men, Storm, who I believe at this point has no powers, and Forge have been kidnapped. So in trying to find them, the X-Men run into Freedom Force, which was another kind of Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and actually featured Mystique as well as Pyro and the Blob, which you see pretty often in other X-Men games, but also featured Spiral and I think his name was Commando, some ones that you really haven't seen too often at all. You start off with actually from about 12 or 15 different X-Men, and you get to pick a team of 5. So you get to pick so you have a full team like you did in the first game, but this one you get to actually pick between like Archangel, Beast, Colossus, Cyclops, Dazzler, Havoc, Iceman, Marvel Gold, Nightcrawler, Longshot, there's one that you don't hear off too often. He has the power of luck, haha, and he throws little blades. Phoenix, Psylocke, Shadowcat, Rogue, and Wolverine. So as you're going through, you'll get into these sites and you see enemies in the dungeon and you run into them because they're in your way, blocking your way. You'll flip to a side screen mode where you will fight them one-on-one. Controls are, just like the first game, controls are pretty clunky. The characters are much smaller, so you got a little more screen space to work with, and it's easier to dodge attacks. You can switch them out, use their power. Their powers are pretty much just all energy blast for the most part. Those people who have like Psylocke, it's a weaker energy blast. It destroys anything, including robots, for some reason. The game didn't seem to make as much big deal about the differences in their powers the way the first game did. Shadowcat, unfortunately, doesn't phase through the monsters and through the robots, I should say, and short-circuit them like she should. She has to get up close and punch them. And the fact that she phases just somehow translates into a higher defense value for her.
Kitty Pryde punches robots.
Yeah, with her fist. Over and over and over and over and over again. Until they die. Because she has low offense, yeah.
Well, no wonder. Kitty Pryde, aside from her phasing, is not an offensive spectacle.
No.
I mean, she's in good shape, but you wouldn't expect most women to go up and punch robots and take them out.
Well, I mean, they could have gone with later on, I believe she started using swords. Like, I don't know if she learned it from Nightcrawler or whatever have you. So it would have been cooler if she at least phased out, threw the sword into your stomach, then phased back in, and then pulled it out. And that's what she did over and over again. At least you could see that doing some damage. But with her fist, yeah, that doesn't, nah.
Yeah, not unless she lost a limb so that now she's got an artificial fist and leaves that in. That would do damage, sure, but no. No, I'm sorry. This does not sound like a good use of Kitty Pryde.
No.
Joss Whedon is very sad.
One of the interesting things was this was my first experience with what we would consider to be sort of downloadable content. We didn't have downloadable aspect of it, but I was able to get extra content for the game. You could fill out a card that was inside the box with like $15, stick it in the mail, and 2 to 3 months later, you got a disc that had extra characters and scenarios on it. So, yeah, you're just like waiting, and it finally would show up. But that's how things worked back then. But, yeah, it was pretty cool. So, cute little game.
That reminds me of Ultima 8, how you had to wait for the physical disc with the patch to come out.
Yeah. So, this is officially a sequel to X-Men Madness and Murder World, made by the same company, etc., etc. I wouldn't recommend actually spending too much time getting into these games or anything like that. The gameplay does not really hold up. It's more for nostalgia. It's one of those things you kind of look at and go, ooh, that was cool back in the day, and lock in the vault. But back then, they were actually much more playable and enjoyable than, let's say, the first X-Men game for the NES. I played that too. I rented it from Blockbuster, whatever. It was a waste.
I did not play that. I am just fine watching the angry video game nerd take on it, and I think he scared me away.
Yeah.
The 2 X-Men games on Genesis, well, I did beat the first one. I have no idea how, because that's a really hard game. Mostly because if one of your X-Men dies, he's dead for good.
Yeah. You can for the most part, you can go, you can usually, like I'm looking at right now, I haven't actually tried watching this myself, but I do see some videos of X-Men Madness and Murder World, so you can at least see some gameplay by going to youtube.com, just typing in Madness and Murder World, and I'm seeing a couple of videos that look like I don't want to hit the play because it'll hit the recording, but I do see screenshots that are definitely from that game. It was kind of a text-based adventure mixed up with the action elements. I mean, it had a pretty good appeal. It just ran kind of slow, and it was cheap in places. It wasn't, it was 1989 computer game. It was actually pretty ambitious for that time, full color and everything. So pretty interesting. If you go and you check those out. I'm going to see if they got a gameplay footage of Fall of the Mutants. Yeah, there's some gameplay footage of that one, too. I see a 7-minute clip on here. So you can go and check all those out and watch people play those. And that would be about as far as I would get with that. Watch a couple of YouTube videos, get it out of your system, and be happy. So what do you want to talk about tonight, Mike?
Well, lately I have been playing Hoshigami Remix, the DS port of one of the later PlayStation releases. And as tactical games go, it tries some things that are different. It does not do a very good job of making them work. I'm glad that I'm playing it on the easy mode because apparently the hard mode required you to go mindlessly grind for a while every time some of your people got killed in a fight. The plot so far has seemed remarkably dry and uninteresting to me, even though it tries. The hero's hometown was destroyed at the beginning of the game. Gosh, I've never heard that one before. And I have also slowly been plugging away at Agarest, Generations of War, which is a retitled record of Agarest War, which was released in Japan 6 years ago now. But lucky us, we get to play it with Steam now.
I'm so sorry.
I can... By the time this thing is done, I'm going to try, but I'm still in the first damn generation of the game. And I've
how many?
5. And I've sunk 19 hours into it. And each generation is about the same size, I think. And it could have been several hours left if I have all of the game data on my hard drive, and it still has to load all of the sprites at the beginning of a fight. And it takes a good 15 seconds or so before it's done with that. What is this? Of all the things I can say about Phantasy Star 3, and I can say a lot of negative things about it, it went by quickly.
It did. And
this game is not going by quickly. Sure, there's the dating sim aspect. If you want to stick around for 3-4 hours between each instance of it, and then you just get to answer, what do you think of ladies who can cook? What the hell? How the hell does that relate to? It's going to affect each of the 3 ladies. Wow, great. And one of these ladies was my childhood friend. Even though I saw her in a couple of cutscenes before we met her and she joined the party, that was never established. This is such sloppy storytelling. And even though they're talking in Japanese, some of these voice actors are just putting zero effort into it. So, it's got a rockin' soundtrack. I'll give it that. See, I can come up with a nice thing to say. And these eye enemies that look kind of like the crawling eye, they have an interesting sprite. See, I came up with a second positive thing to say about it.
It's something.
Yeah. I can see why nobody else has reviewed it for RPGamer before, and don't look for a review anytime soon. For some reason, I do not feel like plowing through this. So there's that. And last night I had an interesting experience. I see a lot of movies. That's nothing new. But I actually saw a premiere of a movie that was directed by someone locally. She is the daughter of a local realtor who I have never met, but my mother has, who cameos in the movie, by the way. So if you want to see Mark Mattioli, famous household name, Mark Mattioli. He is in the movie briefly, and I got to see a few scenes that were shot here. Yeah, I was in that bookstore. Yeah, there's an advertisement for Los Bagels on the street because you filmed it on 2nd Street. I know that spot. And I only wish that the movie, I had liked it a little more. It was interesting. I liked spots of it, but I think it could have used a little more editing because there are a few spots of musical montage that go on a little too long. but I wish it well because it is certainly unique, and a lot of people in the audience certainly seem to be very caught up in it. Title is The Wine of Summer. It has yet to see a wide release, and because it was a screening for adults only, well, mostly, you could buy wine. That was cool. You don't usually get to do that with your movies.
Nice.
Yeah. And let's see, in theaters now, go see Gravity, people. That's a really good movie. And I actually found the 3D to be useful and not a blatant waste of money. Probably because it's in space and you can do some interesting things with 3D in space. And 'tis the season to see horror movies. The original Haunting from 1963 is one of the few movies that can still get a chill out of me. I saw Harem Scarum for the first time, which is an Elvis movie, and that's scary in a whole different kind of way. Well, the songs are kind of cool, but it's an Elvis movie set in Arabic countries. And Elvis saves the day.
As well he should.
From all of these people who do not look in the slightest Arabic. In fact, it looks more like Arabian Nights style, even though this was apparently set in 1964 when it was made. Because those countries haven't changed at all. Not in the slightest. Yeah, I shouldn't come down too hard on it, but this is not one of Elvis's better movies.
All right. How about you, Mr. Apps?
Well, I had been playing lots of Disgaea D2, which I reviewed recently, which I had a lot of fun with, despite a pretty generic and boring story.
So,
which is kind of disappointing.
So they don't have the you were saying they don't have the combos that when they do their special attacks anymore?
You mean like in Disgaea 3?
Yeah, like if I do like in Disgaea 3, I'm getting these, or is it 4? I don't remember because I'm playing them both at the same time, but I'm getting those.
It's 3.
So they don't have that in 4 T2?
Yeah, where you can do, you kind of set up several, not several, two combos, and they'll kind of go off at the same time, and then the characters share the experience. You kill the guy.
Yeah, the special, but it's like a combo, but with your special attacks rather than just the normal martial attack.
Yeah, that's only shown up in 3 so far.
Evil.
Well, I found it a little overpowered in 3.
Okay, that's their problem. It's about being overpowered in this game. Hello. OMG. It's just weird. It's like all of a sudden I don't know if do the monsters do it too?
I think they do, yeah.
Might be why I die sometimes. Anyway, but yeah, if the monsters were doing it, I guess that could be why just a guy with a high defense and resistance suddenly dies for no reason. But but yeah, so that's interesting to know.
Yeah, they actually made some tweaks to the item world, which I don't usually play too much of, and I was in there for
what kind of tweaks?
Quite a long time in this one.
What kind of tweaks?
Well, previously you'd kind of just start like somewhere in the middle of the map with, amidst all the random tiles and stuff.
Yeah.
And in this one, you go into the item world on like a pirate ship. And there's a bunch of different ones you can unlock, but that's kind of your starting point for all the maps you go to in the item world. So you kind of always have this little base area to work from. And it really, it sounds like a small change, but it really kind of changes the whole dynamic of how those maps work.
Sure.
Because you can just kind of work from there, try and lure some of the enemies to there if you want, or it makes the item world a lot easier to deal with, especially if, if you're new to that and kind of just jump into it, it can seem kind of messy and hard to deal with. And they've also I didn't like go back to the other games to verify this or anything, but it seemed like they kept the map small and reduced the enemy count, at least early on, so that it kind of goes along a bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean that's like, I know when I'm playing through the item worlds, if the enemies are significantly lower level than I am, just the idea of defeating, usually they'll typically be about 10 or so. And
yeah, it's less than that now.
Yeah, it's like going through that trudge. It's much faster if I just pile a bunch of guys up and throw myself towards the exit. I just need to get through to the next floor. It's not like these guys are going to give me any experience, so worth worrying about. So yeah, let me just go ahead and throw myself into the other exit. Oh wait, there's a guardian on the. I'm going to have to fight through this crap.
Yeah, so I mean,
it ends up making Time World feel like or Item World. I mean, sometimes feels like a time sink when you have to trudge through lower level floors.
Yeah, so in this case, it feels like less of a trudge because the maps are smaller. Like I said, there's fewer enemies. So even if there is a guardian there, a lot of times, and when I was just like blasting through the earlier levels, it was pretty easy to either just like move a mage in range to take care of it, or just throw somebody there and then throw somebody on the exit. It was a lot quicker and, definitely a lot friendlier for anyone new to the series, which is kind of weird because it doesn't seem like a game that should be designed for people new to the series since it's the first direct sequel, but it kind of worked out like that. So, and they kind of took out some of the advanced features and tweaked things a little bit. So, it's
like what? What advanced features?
There was a class world in some of the previous games.
Oh yeah, the class worlds in 3 and 4. Yeah. I can see that. It only shows. I think what's weird is that I guess I could go to FAQ, but I think I've seen that guy. It's a guy with an afro that takes you to Class World, and I dived into one of my characters' classes, and it basically gave them some base skill points up, so they have become pretty good, a bit more powerful, but and they were randomized a little bit differently. But yeah, he doesn't show up enough. I don't know. There must be something I have to do to trigger him more often.
Could be. But let me think what else there was. You don't individually select new skills for your characters and level them up. It's how it was in the original Disgaea, where you use your weapon and use the skills, and you gain new skills. You level up the skills by using them, and you gain new skills at certain levels. So that's a bit simpler. They also changed it so there's the characters you create. There'll be more advanced versions you unlock as you go along, like a more advanced version of the different mages or the monster classes and things like that, where you may have had to previously do a reincarnation in the earlier games. Now you can just go and spend a small amount of mana once you unlock that higher level to just upgrade your character right to the newer version, which will get you some better stats, and then they'll be able to learn skills that they wouldn't have been previously. And in fact, if they'd already reached or past the level where they would have learned those skills, they get them right away. So,
oh right, that was the point about class war. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to. Yeah, that's been frustrating in 3 and 4. Is I can't figure out a good way to teach my heroes if I want them to learn cure spells or something. In the first one, I think I would get a protege. I'd have the hero make somebody, and then they would stand next to each other, and he would practice the spell, and then it would be his, and he could level it up. And, by using it. Now, in 3 and 4, it's like, really? I got all these hero class characters, but I don't know. Now, suddenly, I think once in a while, one of them seems to pick up like an ice spell or something, but I've not been able to figure out how to teach any of them Cure.
That apprentice system is back in this game as well.
Yay, apprentice system.
Where you directly, and it's pretty simple to set up, where you just, when you create a new character, they become an apprentice for whoever created the character, but you can just assign them to whoever you want. So it's pretty nice if you want to have like one like master mage, and then the others can learn their spells, and then instead of having like three different mages, one for fire, ice, and wind, then you can have 3 that have everything. And
oh, yeah, that's the other bull thing. Yeah. It's like I was reading an FAQ, because the first thing I want to do, I want my prism mage. I want my mage that can cast it.
Yep.
Oh, I got to get a mage. I got to get one mage. To unlock Star Mage, you just got to get a combined total of 50 levels between any mages. No big deal. But to get Star Mage, or to get prism mage, you got to get one mage up to level 150. I'm like, what the hell? I'll beat that. The game will be beaten by then. So I have been using, but with that, I can get around that a little bit through just the reincarnation. So, yeah. But I can't teach it to. I can't do that I cannot do that to the heroes. The heroes can't reincarnate into a wizard. What's up with that? Evil. So my heroes are just stuck being heroes, and that's okay. I mean, they're but I kind of missed that from the earlier one. So it's good to hear that it's back.
Yeah, and there's also a new system where, in 3 and 4, there's the system where you can turn monster classes into a weapon for a character.
Yeah.
For kind of the duration of the battle.
Because that's what I always want to do. I want to use up one of my 10 slots to become a weapon for, 2 rounds or something? Or
I never liked or used that system too much, and was glad to see it replaced, where your characters can basically ride on any of the monsters.
Oh, no, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, so there's some different uses for this, most of which ended up being useful for mages, which are normally like slow and can't move very far. So you can create one of those moth monsters that have a long movement range, and just have them jump on there, and then they're a highly mobile machine of death.
Oh.
And it was really fun. And the advantage there, too, is that if somebody attacks the character when they're mounted on the monster takes all the damage.
As well they should.
Yeah, so you can put kind of your weaker characters on there, and, there's some limitations, of course. You can only use spells while mounted. You can't use any weapon skills other than just regular attacks, although regardless of the kind of character that's on there, you can use like a combo skill.
So if I got a swordsman on there, I can't.
Yes,
and
you can't use any of his skills.
But he can physically attack.
Yeah, he can go up to physically attack anything. If you kill anything, then both of the characters share the experience.
If he attacks, is it him attacking, or both him and the monster, or
it's him attacking?
It's him attacking. Okay, so it's not probably the best way to level if I just reincarnated my fighter to level 1.
No, probably not.
Probably best to stick with my stacks of death is what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's the monster will have a combo skill they use, but I don't recall how the damage is calculated for that. It might be a mix of the 2 characters, or it might be weighted to the rider. I'm not sure.
I mean, the famous way now. You reincarnate someone. I usually reincarnate them in sets of 3, so I can pile them all on top of the hero who has a large-ass defensive value, and then I use the other heroes to throw the monsters to my stack, so my stack can kill them, and all the people in the stack can get experience. And that's how you get somebody from one. Like if I'm level 40, I can usually through 1 or 2 battles on the right boards get them at least back up to 30 or so within 2 battles. Now there are 2 battles to get them up to 38, 39. It works pretty good. Stacks.
I haven't used
stacks of death and reincarnation. Seriously, you notice a big, huge difference. Like there's that one board where the whole board's 50% experience. There's one on 3 and one on 4 where there are these big 50 plus 50% experience point areas. So you build your stack of death there. Put but whoever the hero is, Mao or whatever his name is, put him on the bottom with the biggest resistance and defense value, so he doesn't die, because you don't want him to die. He's going to get attacked. And then throw all the level 1s on top of him. And what's even more fun is, the enemy's really like level 30, maybe your group's level 40. Who cares? Stack them so that they go up to 60, 90, 120. It doesn't matter. I think 150 might be pushing it. I've gone as high as 150 right now with my level 30-ish group. And then you might have to wear them down with a wizard or two first, which wizard usually ends up dying if they stick around too long, but who cares? Reincarnate them. I mean, not reincarnate them. I mean, resurrect them, whatever. Anyways, and then attack them with the stack and just watch them all level up. Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. And make sure you whatever, Mal or whatever, you want to make this process a little bit easier and faster, just level up his special stack attack ability that every character can learn. So yeah, it's madness. It's you can get you, and you will notice the difference. Like if you just write down your stat values before you reincarnate, and then get yourself back up to level 40, and using the exact same gear, look at your stats again. You'll notice a big difference. According to FAQ I read, I think it's like for every 2 points you have in a stat, you gain 1 point per level. So if you reincarnate, like my wizard, I've noticed, if you build a brand new star mage, he'll have a 20 intelligence. If you reincarnate, he'll usually carry some of his stats over from before, so he'll be like 24 intelligence. But then, of course, you're going to reincarnate him as a good student or whatever have you with some of your points. So you'll have 6 points to spend, so you put them into intelligence. Now he's got 30 intelligence. So as his base stats. So that means every level he's gaining 15 intelligence instead of only 10 intelligence. So basically 5 more per level, and then multiply it by 40 levels, he's got 200 more intelligence. That's the difference between, you know how, you go to buy an item and you only can afford like up to a weapon that brings you like, so much intelligence, and then you'll be like, I can afford more than that. So you go and you have the Senate increase your item ranks. It's like I just increased my item ranks by 2 for no money. It's like that much of a difference. So my wizard who had 700 intelligence now has 900 intelligence and didn't spend any. In fact, I gained money real fast along the way. So now I can go and buy more defensive items or whatever have you. But the intelligence will just kick ass now. So I kind of gotten into that. And of course, and now that you've reincarnated and you've taken maybe, let's say, 30 minutes or an hour, if that much, to get let's say a half dozen characters or so reincarnated, more powerful like that. Now they're going to level faster because now they can take on higher level enemies with no problem. So you can go further in item world, or you can take on further story missions or whatever have you, and you're just gonna cream stuff that's above your level if you do that enough.
It's interesting. I've never really done anything with reincarnation.
Yeah, it is interesting. I guess for the story mode, you could probably I thought about it, I could probably just go into item world enough times and just grind my levels up. And that would probably do the trick as well. But when I see this huge-ass difference of like 200 points, it was like, wow. Because normally I would have had to have gained like I have a level 56 wizard, an ice mage who accidentally got to level 56 because she got the killing blow on this level 150 monster I had created. I love, by the way, you do that in item world with the invincible squares and stuff. Build yourself some large ass level 150. It's great free experience. Anyways, I accidentally finished it off with my ice mage, so she ended up being level 56. I have a star mage. Now, star mages already start off with slightly higher stats, but then I had reincarnated her to star mage again and did what I just told you. At level 39, she has higher intelligence scores than my 56 ice wizard. Wow. And so she's going to do more damage with her spells.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about this game, kind of a double-edged sword here, is some of the classes, like even some of the base classes, aren't unlocked right away. But using that mounting system, you can kind of take, say some cool monster class you've just seen unlocked and some new character class you've just seen unlocked, and use the mounting system to just do quick level them up at the same time. So that really helped me a lot because there were some early character classes I really wanted to use.
So wait.
Leveling really wasn't bad at all.
What do you mean, like what classes are locked? Because there's always some classes that are locked in these things.
I think like the class with the best rank for using guns. I forget the actual name of it. That wasn't unlocked right away.
Oh, the gunner or whatever.
Yeah, and like the base archer class wasn't unlocked right away either, which was kind of odd. But at least leveling was easier in this game, so it wasn't too bad. But it did seem kind of odd that some of the classes you expect to be open right away weren't there.
I think with 4, I've kind of have felt that's a little frustrating. I don't know if they're locked, or I need to read an FAQ, but I don't see a male cleric, the whatever his name is, and the heretic.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's locked or not locked or whatever. And yeah, I've kind of had that same feeling with Disgaea 4. So apparently it's gotten worse in D2.
Worse, but at the same time a little bit better, because it feels like there's easier ways to grind up lower level characters. And there's also one thing I'm forgetting that was a really nice addition, is they finally added a new weapon type, which is like this booked weapon which uses intelligence for damage, uses kind of like spell type attacks. They're all kind of like book related puns, which is fitting. But so you can have that on a cleric, so that they're finally able to do damage for once, which meant that they were no longer the frustrating characters I always found them to be.
In Disgaea, in Disgaea 3, it's a little. I think it's 3 where they've each got this. The heretic especially. I think it's the heretic that has the revenge attack or whatever it's called.
Yep.
And that's great for leveling him and getting his hell points or whatever they're called, because that's based on his resistance score. But the other attacks they have, like the clerically, especially in Disgaea 4, I've been really struggling to get her hell points, because all of her special offensive attacks rely on an attack and hit from the bow, but she doesn't have a high attack. She doesn't have a good inheritance rate on those things. So what I did is I reincarnated her as a wizard, and but you're right. Even if I reincarnate her back into a healer, she's not going to have. I'm going to have to pump that intelligence stat a little bit just so she can at least be mediocre enough to get some kills in. But right now, I've got her as a wizard, but she has the healing spells in her back pocket.
Yeah. So in this game, you don't even have to worry about that. Which was great. I mean, that the ability the heretic had in Disgaea 3 was great, although that was just an addition for the Vita version.
Oh, there you go. I'm cheating because I'm using the Vita version.
Those extra character abilities were an addition for that version, which is really nice. But I think that's something they really needed, because maybe it's just me, but it never seems like healing provides anywhere near as much as the experience is actually taking out monsters.
It's the experience points I'm not having a real issue with. I mean, I guess I'm getting some from just healing people, because I've seen that go up when I heal people, and I've also put them in the schools where they share the experience points, and that seems to really help out. In fact, a lot of times my healers are ahead of other people, but the hell points that they need to increase their spells and stuff are really dragging, even when I put them in the schools or whatever they're called, where they share the hell points. It's evil, or whatever points they're called. It's evil. So I'm struggling to upgrade their cure spells, and when I go to reincarnate them, I can't get the good reincarnation because I don't have enough points.
Well, then that's another addition you'd like in here, is that the healing spells will just level up as you use them.
Oh, yeah, and this idea that I hate that. Is that the way it was in the first one, too? I think it is. It really, I have to spend those freaking points that you get from killing people, from getting the killing blow, or you have to drink potions, and the potions are only like 10 each. You could be drinking forever. And I can level up people really easy by just stacking them. I mean, I have no problem getting people levels. If I got 2 or 3 people dragging behind, just put them in the stack of death, and then put a monster in front of them and stack the monsters up to like level 150 or something. Cheesy experience. But man, those freaking points, man. There's no easy way to get those. You have to get the killing blow, and I mean, you can do that as part of a stack of death. But now you're spreading out those points among 4 people. I'm guessing, because I don't see the points coming in very quick when I'm in stack mode. So I'm guessing it's being split up. Just like probably experience points are split up too, but yeah, a little irritating.
So yeah,
For healers.
that works a lot. That works a lot better in this one. Although the flip side is it makes mages ridiculously powerful because previously, you had to use those powers to, not powers, use the points to level up the spells, which would also level up the area of effect.
Right.
So in this case, all your wizard spells are going to be leveling up a lot faster, and those area effects are going to level up a lot easier than they did in those games, and you're just going to turn them into walking machines of death.
Well, that's how it. I mean, that's how it was. Like in the first one was. I mean, when the wizards were doing large area of effects, and because of that, they could clear out a lot of enemies at once, and they would level insanely as a result. So they would turn into these massive fragile glass cannons, though, but they would turn into massive walking piles of death. Now in Disgaea 3 and 4, I'm like level 40. I've been playing for like 35 hours, and I'm still only at the 3rd level of this spell that only can hit 3 people in a line together. Because going up to the 4th and 5th is like a cajillion points.
Yeah.
I blame you, of course. Everything's your fault, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the physical characters become useless in Disgaea D2 or anything, because, for starters, you're still going to run into monsters that are resistant to spells, but, the mages are just really powerful, and it seems like they were trying to maybe fix some issues with mages and went a little bit too far, but it doesn't. It's not like it makes the game a breeze or anything. There's still plenty of maps later in the game where that were very challenging. So, that's a change that works out in a lot of ways, and like I said, obviously makes the game a little bit simpler to deal with. Because you don't have to worry about managing all the different characters' skills because they're just learning them as you go along. So, it does feel a little bit like a simpler Disgaea, but not so much that the hardcore players should be scared off or anything. Cool. So it's a fun game. Just don't expect too much from the story. I mean, it doesn't even bring back a lot of the fun characters from the original secondary characters from the original Disgaea. So yeah.
You probably scared him off.
I hope not. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, and this is from someone that really does not like the original Disgaea that much, so it's when I originally went into this, I thought, a game that's clearly trying to ape the feel of the original one with the original cast was probably not going to, do much for me, and it proved quite the opposite.
Well, can't wait to give it a shot. I'm trying to blast through 3 and 4, as you know, so I can get to that one without feeling like I'm skipping ahead. So it's sitting on my desk waiting for me, and I'm like I said, I'm kind of closing in on, especially on 3 being on the Vita. It's much more accessible and easy to jump into. But so I was playing 4 before the cast, and man, it's just frustrating that the PlayStation 3 can't suspend, and some of those battles can be pretty long because of the way they're set up.
I know.
When I see one of those that one board where they have the artificial lines that create borders that you can't go through, you can throw spells through them, but you can't actually go through them. And to get to those monsters in the back, you're going to have to go all the way around. And it's like, oh, are you serious? You know, this battle, which should be 20 minutes, has just turned into a 45-minute affair. Pain in the butt. But, oh, well. But, yeah, I am enjoying once you sink a little time, into some of that reincarnation crap, and the item world is kind of cool. Obviously, you can power up your items, get the residents, move them over. Because that isn't quite as transparent, and I don't really like going to FAQs every 5 seconds, I don't spend too much time in item world. I don't even know what half the residents do. It doesn't say it.
Yeah.
It really pisses me off. Oh, I got a witch doctor. What the hell does a witch doctor do? And how come? Wait, do I hit the select button? Maybe I see it. No, I was like, how do I see what the witch doctor does? I don't. Evil. Anyway, but I mean, I know you're supposed to keep the residents and move them over and combine them and stuff. But and you know, it's cool to level up an item here and there. But yeah, reincarnation's where the real power's at. I guess you can reincarnate. From what I read in FAQ, you can reincarnate them up to the heroes anyways, 5 times, and then they stop receiving benefit, I believe, from reincarnating, or much benefit from, or nearly as much benefit from it. So you want to reincarnate, the FAQ says, when you can, usually, you know how you can, depending on how many points you put into it, you can get 3, 6, 8, or 10 bonus points. You want to at least get 6. If you can hold out for, 8 or 10, that's a little bit better. But if you're making that much points, you're probably near the end of the game anyway. So it's more for power levelers to wait that long who are really trying to milk the end game. But if you're just trying to beat the game, one or a couple of 6-point reincarnations will give you a huge leg up. And then just reincarnate them, then quickly stack them and level them up through one of those cheesy boards. I love my cheesy boards. I think, and if for those of you listening who I know you're playing right now in your Vitas, Chapter 5, the second board, the Organized Corridor. It's called Organized for a reason. It's organized with lots of experience points. I've cleared it 11 times, according to this. It's just a basic room where everything's plus 50% experience, and you just stack them up, and you use your other heroes to stack up the enemies, so they're a good 100 level or so. So I usually do the first time I've reincarnated 4 of them. And I stack them up on top of a hero. I'll kill level 30 first to get them the few levels real quick, because the damage of the stack is dependent upon everyone's output. So you want to get at least 1 or 2 good kills in before you start going for level 100 monsters with your level 30 group. And now in Disgaea 3 I'm level 48, so I just got to get to that stupid board where they just keep leveling up. Maybe I should try. Maybe I should do a run right now and see if I can do it. Hiya the tiger. Yeah, cool stuff. Anyways, yeah, Disgaea games, guys, go out and play them. They're lots of fun. But they are there's no doubt about it. They're a bit grindy. It's all in how you grind those. You can grind the levels. Yes. You can grind the item levels. You can grind the reincarnations. It's just crazy. In fact, I need to reincarnate myself a mage healer, just to have that extra healing on tap. Alrighty. Well, I see now I don't have much to say, because you and I did a lot of the talking right there. Because I'm playing Disgaea 3 and 4 is mostly my focus. And then I've also been playing some Pokemon X. Not too much, though, because Disgaea keeps pulling me back. But I really want to get through 3 and 4, and then I'll be able to focus more on other games. But, man, huge difference between X and the previous incarnations. Just huge. You can read... Do we have a review up yet? Do you know?
We do not.
Do not. But there's plenty of reviews out there already. And a lot of good things being said about it for good reason. If you're into Pokemon games, if you totally hate them, then this isn't going to change your mind. But if you hated them because, gosh dang it, it's a DS game that looks like a Game Boy Color game and plays like a Game Boy Color game and is slow and all that, a lot of that's changed. A lot more transparency, a lot cooler graphics, a lot cooler sound, and feeling more and more like a more modern RPG. So almost dare I say, almost a tiny Disgaea even. Because now you can basically invest in how your attributes grow. I'm still a little fuzzy on it. We've been posting on the forums about it. But I've got Pokemon, and every level he gains random attributes. Maybe somewhat random, I don't know. But apparently you can train him in a way that kind of directs the growth of his attributes. By doing these practice sessions with him on the bottom screen. Something. It's like a little short 3D game you play. It's like a soccer game or something. And it's okay, it's cute, but every time you do one, he gains, I forget exactly what they're called, it's all on the forums, but I'll call them potential points. and so if you increase your hit point potential, then when you level up, my general gist so far is that your random points will go more into hit points, because that's what you trained him for. And he'll experience faster growth than normal. So in that area. So in that way, you can really direct your defensive Pokemon to be more defensive and your offensive Pokemon to have higher special attack or physical attack or whatever. So it's getting deeper. Apparently that process has been in the later Pokemons, but this one makes it a lot more transparent so that stupid people like me who don't want to read FAQs don't really have to. You can kind of see where your potential growth is at right there on the bottom of the screen. So that makes it, in my opinion, feel a little bit more like Disgaea. So yeah, a lot of Disgaea and Animal Crossing New Leaf. So my wife and I were in EB Games, and she was asking me about a game, spur of the moment thing. We saw Animal Crossing. I got her a 2DS because she gets seasick on 3D graphics. And so a lot of people make fun of those 2DS systems, but it actually does the trick pretty well if you don't really care about the stereoscopic 3D and you want to save $50. It's been working for her just fine. And we've been playing that Animal Crossing New Leaf on that one. Very, very interesting. Kind of weird. It just keeps track of. It knows what day and time it is, and it does like events. It's like an MMO. It's like there was a note on the bulletin board in town saying, "Come on October 31st and Halloween, we're going to be selling Halloween masks." I'm like, okay. And you can send letters and talk to the residents, and in a lot of ways, it kind of feels like an RPG because you're in this community that's growing and thriving, and you make decisions that impact it. But there's no stats. So maybe we don't call it an RPG, but you do make a lot of decisions and direct, the people, and you interact. You can write them letters. They like you. They give you presents. It's weird. So, and you can do things with other people, but I'm just getting into it just to see what it's like and interact with her on that. So maybe more on that next time or so. But alrighty. Well, I think that's about it. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
No. All right. Well then, we have to make the legal department feel that their existence is justified by reading the following. RPG Backtrack is a production of RPGamer, your source for RPG news, impressions, reviews, articles, and home to the base gaming community on the net. So write your questions and comments on our boards or email us. I'm JCServant at rpgamer.com. He is Albert Odyssey at hotmail.com. Help shape our future shows. Don't forget to follow us on twitter.com/RPGamer. Become our biggest fans at facebook.com/RPGamer. And as always, listen to our previous podcasts, as well as our awesome sister show, the RPG Cast. It's all at rpgamer.com. So on behalf of Mike Apps, Mike Minky, and myself, we thank you for listening. As always, you're the reason we do this. Please leave us 8-star reviews on iTunes. They don't have 8 stars ratings, but they invented it just for us. Mr. Mike. It's that time of the night again. You going to say something witty on behalf of Professor Xavier to put us to bed? Mike's thinking really hard about that one. I think Mike went away. Or Mike's on mute. Oh my gosh, it just fell in our face. It's so anticlimactic. All right. Well, I was going to say X-Men Assemble, but then I remember, wait a minute, that's the wrong group. Oh well. Have a good night. Go read some comics or something.